We are live and welcome everyone who might be watching live or watching the VOD. Welcome, welcome. Today I have Jehshua back um, for a second podcast. So let me pull this up. We'll be talking about communication, all forms of communication within you know, um, within the industry for people working together, professionals, and then the communication with just like we had a topic last time about layman versus pro, and then maybe kind of discussing more of that. Joshua wanted to talk about more of that. So yeah, let's switch to this mode. Woo! There we go. And say a few words.
Testing. Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. Can
Great.
everybody hear me coming
Yes.
through?
Yes, we can hear you.
Alrighty.
Great. Great. Yeah, I got a couple buddies here. We got Hansi here. My girlfriend's lurking as well. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Hansi subscribed with Prime. Nice. I didn't know even you could do it. I don't think I'm even affiliate yet, but I guess so. I guess you can. Oh, I have a sub button now. Oh, okay. Well, fantastic. Thanks. Great. Perfect. Um, all right. Great. I just kind of blurred it out to a couple of people that I know are on, so they can come watch as well.
Sounds good. I know it's
Um,
early morning on a weekday for you guys, so
yes, but not for Hansi, who actually is in Europe, and I have a couple of friends who are in Europe. So they are more than happy to watch in the evening for their time rather than
that's
in the
actually quite
later
true. Yeah.
AMs. Okay, great. So yeah, so to jump back to it now that everything's for sure set up, yeah, welcome back, Joshua. Nice to have you
Thanks
back.
for having me back on. It's been a while. It's been a long
Yes.
time.
It's been about a
Feels
year
like.
since
Yes.
the last time we did the podcast, and that episode actually recorded a year ago. I ended up posting this year because I kind
Hmm.
of finally figured out how I wanted to do things and felt like I had a
Right.
kind of a plan for how I would regularly put out. Um,
Okay. Cool.
yes, this was the doctor from the first video on my YouTube channel that was on talking about layman. I think the video was let me check what the video name
Layman versus
said.
pros, I think, and it was actually more than a year ago. It was 2024,
Yes, 2020.
January of 2024. So
Oh,
it's
is it
2 years
two?
ago.
Oh, 2 years
It was
ago.
2 years
Oh
ago.
no. Time flies, does it not? Yeah, the hedge
Yes.
between pros and laymen. Yes.
Yes.
That was the video. Yes. So yeah, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell the audience, what your credentials are, which are impressive, and your history with your career now, and then also maybe just a little bit about us as well, and music
Sure. Yeah.
career-wise side of things.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on. Yeah. So my name is Jeshua. I am currently a physician. I live in New York City. I am in the neurological sciences. I straddled neurosurgery and neurology, the practice fields of both those things.
Hmm.
Kind of been a long journey there. Been here now for about 3 years, still in residency training. So, a couple more,
How,
quite a number more years training to go.
how
Typically,
many?
neurosurgery is a 7 year. It's 7 years of
7
training total.
years
So
of
I still have another
training?
4. Yes. So I still have another 4. And this was after medical school. So, this continues to
Dare I ask how many years is it
be
total
crazy.
for this so
So
far?
from the start of med school to the end of residency, plus usually you have to do 1 year of fellowship. It takes 4 plus 7 plus 1, so that 13 years, 12 to 13 years roughly. Yes.
And my girl was like,
So
I gave up for a reason in the chat here, if you can see it. Can you see that, by the
made a
way? Is
wise
it big
decision.
enough?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
see it.
nice.
Yes. That was a very wise decision you made there. Regrets are often had in this field. But I enjoy my work. I do enjoy my work. It doesn't mean that I get sleep, and it usually means that I'm not sleeping. I was just telling I came from a clinic this morning, and
Mhm.
I do research and I do other things, and I have to like kind of be. Call is always chaotic, but you
Mhm.
make it work, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, my girlfriend is also in surgery. She's a third year surgery resident, and so also has an absolutely hectic schedule. So things like that.
Mhm.
This is kind of life for us. Musically, though, so we met years ago, and
Mhm.
trying to think, it's probably in 20 years ago, right? Like in 2006,
Well,
2005.
so we studied with the same teacher on
Yes,
violin. It was we had both the same first teacher on violin. And
yes,
did you? Because I actually was looking through some bios of my own. There's like emails and like looking for like basically like sending myself emails of like some sheet music of like my own compositions
yeah,
from years ago. So I was like looking through and seeing if I could find any other stuff that I feel like I've lost, which I actually covered a couple of pieces that I wrote that I didn't find before,
nice.
and that was really nice. But I was looking through and I was like, I saw one bio blurb of myself or something, and I think Olga Kurlevich was our teacher, and she
Yes,
was at Levine School of Music, but I don't
she was, but
know.
then she left.
She
So
did
she was at
leave.
Levine. She left. She became private. We followed her.
Yeah.
Like
Did we
I
meet
remember
at the Levine, or did we meet when she became private herself? Because I don't know if I
we met at
remember,
Levine. We met at
but I didn't
Levine
see you much at Levine,
because
right? I thought I saw
no,
you a
we
lot
didn't
more at
see
the
each other.
private. Okay, okay.
Yes, yeah,
That's what I
because at
remember more
Levine
vividly.
I was more because I joined Olga like during her last year at Levine, I'm pretty sure. She was
Mm,
already like transitioning out. It was like the last 6 months of her like
gotcha.
work period there. So we saw each other a lot more when we were private, and we played together. You lived very close by me when you were like 10 minutes away from my house. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You don't
Okay.
remember? I used to come
I,
to you. I
one
used
sec,
to
my
come to
dog.
your
But yeah, go
place.
ahead.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
hear you.
No, I used to come to your place to do music stuff because I don't
Hmm.
know if you remember, but we had these performances that like we would sometimes do at Levine, and I was also studying piano at Levine at the time.
Yeah, I do
And your
remember
mom
that.
had your mom had like the basement was the studio was the music studio in the townhouse there. And so I like
Yes.
And so I used to like come down to your place once in a while, usually, and like, your mom would be there and we would go down, we would like do some practice. Yeah, I mean, we still live in the same place. So half the time, like my parents and see them, we're driving by your apartment, like, I wonder how he's doing. And like, message me. So
Uh-huh. Interesting. Okay, so that
yes,
was but I started with violin when I was like 5.5. I think I started with Olga when I was 6,
yes,
maybe.
yes.
And you started when you
So I
were,
had
I
started.
guess.
So I had started. Olga wasn't my first teacher, but she was my second. My first teacher, I was in Chicago when I first learned. And
Oh.
then she was my first teacher in I'd maybe been a violin student for, let's see, 2 years, 3 years, and then I came to Reston, Fairfax County, and that's where we met
Hmm.
Olga. Because I'm a few years older to you, I think, right?
I am 30 right now.
Yes, so I'm
Already
I'm
already had
32.
my
Yeah, so I
birthday
was
this
like two
year,
years older.
32. Okay.
Nice, the big 30, the big 30.
When
Feeling
your
old yet?
30s, yes, when the 30s begin. All the
I know.
problems, all the, oh my
All the
gosh, I have a
problems.
random ache in my back. What is happening? Am I dying? Kind of experience is what's
This was
beginning to
me. I
roll
woke
out.
up at 30. I was like, oh, I know. This feels like I have aged. I have aged.
There is no way in hell I could do your schedule, like a schedule of a doctor, of a nurse, basically, or anything related to just this like what 48 hour. I've seen the streams as well online of people like showing
Yeah.
off their like life, just
You know,
how
it's it's
absolutely
it's
wild it is.
weird. It's weird how this is a sidetrack, but we always say we work really, really long hours every day, and
Hmm.
it's like a bragging point for physicians, and I just don't understand because if you get into an Uber driver, if you get into a car and the Uber is like, dude, I've been driving for 24 hours, it's an amazing thing, you would get out of that car like immediately, and then somehow like you would not. I've been awake for 24 hours, I've never stopped driving.
All right, let's do this brain surgery thing. Oh, Whoops.
I've been up, yeah. I've been up for 28 hours. I'm going in for my last surgery of the 28-hour shift. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what this is
Yeah.
why this is just ridiculous. I just don't understand. Yeah, I agree
Uh-huh.
with your girlfriend. I also love sleep. Unfortunately, I don't get enough of it. Yeah, life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. No,
Um,
that is I bet okay, that could be a great segue into also just concerns. I mean, like, yeah, like people sometimes like I think patients will freak out about certain things they'll hear about from like a doctor will say something they're like, I didn't even consider this. Wait, are there other things I didn't consider? Maybe the fact that my doctor has been awake for over 20 hours and is going to do something that might
yeah,
be affecting my life. So
you know, not ideal. I always tell people like it's just try not to come to us if you don't have to.
mhm. Well, just the bill
There's
alone, I'm sure, is dissuading some people.
yeah. Well, to answer the question I see in the chat there, do you get naps? It depends. It depends.
Well,
It's
it's on
it's
call,
very
right? If you're on call, you might get naps,
so if
right?
you're on call, there's nothing happening, yes, you get naps. It is very much like a day, it's very day dependent. On weekends, there's a lot of stuff going on, especially Friday nights. Usually in the city, in New York City, it's chaotic.
Mhm.
New York
Mhm.
City, you have people who always go out and then they just they get drunk and then they do things that are not exactly smart and then they come to the hospital and that happens like with 8 million people in the city. That's going to happen a lot. And so on a weekend,
Mhm.
Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays, chaos.
Mhm. Gotcha.
But some days not too bad, like you get to
Mhm.
sleep in. And if you talk to my colleagues in the field, like they'll tell you everything is very varied. You never can predict what's going to happen. So you know,
Yeah.
coffee
Mhm.
is your friend, and generally being somewhat of a sociopath or a psychopath because you can't do this unless you're mentally crazy. So
Mhm.
I'm self-diagnosed mentally insane.
I'm sure you're not. I'm sure um yeah, but that is definitely tough work. That is very admirable work. Absolutely. I'm looking there's a chat
Well,
here. Yeah, there's just some more people coming into a couple of friends as well.
nice.
Great. I heard the New Year stories. Microphone's saying here
Yeah. Yes.
for the
Yes.
busiest times, right? Has to be.
Yeah. Struggles are great. It's all about trauma bonding at some point, which we kind of did. Honestly, going through music and stuff, like I think you and I kind of had our own version of
Yeah,
trauma
so
bonding.
so you know what's really really funny? I was actually talking to my girlfriend. In a way, we also like trauma bonded, but apparently everyone's
Yeah.
misusing that term. Apparently, the medical correct term for trauma bond is to bond when when you are. It's got that what is it, prisoner's dilemma, whatever thing, where that's
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
what the term trauma bond means. But people don't.
Yes.
That doesn't come up as often as as bonding over a shared experience. Yeah, bonding with
Experience.
your
Yeah.
abuser basically is trauma
It's
bonding.
it's
That's the
Stockholm
technical term.
syndrome. It's
But
like
but
Stockholm
Stockholm
syndrome.
syndrome, yeah. But people use
Yeah.
Stockholm
Yes.
syndrome in for like socially right now. I think climate is to say Stockholm syndrome when you're talking about the abuser relationship, but to say
Yeah.
trauma bonding when you're like friends
Trombone.
over a trauma that you both
Yeah.
understand each other about. Like you both can be like, oh, I
Yes.
totally get what you're dealing with. I dealt with the exact same thing firsthand, both experiences, and that way you guys can kind of like feel heard or bond over that. So that's like yeah,
Right.
just but that was like a funny little thing as well. Um, let's
Yeah.
see if this.
It's a
Yeah.
colloquial usage of terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, that's my background. That's my music background as well. And yeah, like we went our separate ways for a little bit, and then we reconnected after some years, you and I.
mhm.
And it was
Yes,
nice. It's
that
nice
was
to kind
great.
of. It was great. It's great to go back and meet people in your life that were very important, and
Yeah.
rekindle that, which I think we got to do. So it was nice.
Yeah, no, I absolutely it was definitely great to have such a close friend then and I'm so glad that we were able to reconnect as well. I'm so glad to have you
Yeah.
back too. I know you're super busy. Um And yeah, it's been a pleasure, real huge pleasure. And I'm sure people
Yeah.
here watching as well are happy to have you back because some of them have watched the podcast from before. So
Nice. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you guys got to take a look at that. That was a great conversation we had. That was a wonderful conversation.
mhm.
Yeah.
um, so I guess like I have some things listed here, but yeah, what you've been up to? I mean, oh yeah, so yeah, I was gonna ask you. Well, okay, one second. Um,
What has been going on in the last 2 years since we last
yeah,
did
so
this?
last we talked, well, a year. So wait, so it was 2 years since we did that
It
podcast?
was 2 years. Yeah, it was January
Dang.
2024. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So then, what have you been up to in the last 2 years? That was going to be my first question. Yeah,
Yeah. So
what's
besides
new?
work, so a couple of actually really exciting new things have been going on. So everyone knows, and I know we're going to get into this a bit, but everyone knows that AI has now, taken over the entire world. And there's all kinds of controversial opinions about it, which we'll get into. But one of the things we do in medicine is they have been trying to, like, there are two ways you can approach AI. You can either let it just do its own thing, or you can try to shape it because it's going to be a part of your life, whether you like it or not.
Hmm.
And so a couple of the things I've been doing for the last 2 years, I work part-time as a consultant, a medical consultant with companies that were very interested in refining the use of AI, not in diagnosis, but actually in more like the research perspective, like using a hyper-powered Google.
Yeah.
So in
Hmm.
Google you search up a term and it comes out with like a bunch of unrelated results, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, how do we refine this? Makes our jobs a little easier when we're looking for research, when we're looking for case studies, that kind of stuff. So I was doing that over the last 2 years, part-time. Um, And yeah, I also have a love relationship with the way that AI works.
Hmm.
And we can get into that. It's quite interesting. I think early AI, there was some resistance to it in all of the communities. Every community had resistance to it, and I think now we've sort of like learned, like anything other technology, it's going to be here, and
Yeah.
you just got to learn how to coexist and shape it. Because if you don't shape it, that's when it becomes dangerous because you're allowing it to be shaped by forces that you are not able to control. And so that's what I was doing for a little bit, and um, I have sort of gained some insight into, when you're actually seeing patients every day, or you talking to colleagues who are seeing patients every day from all kinds of
Hmm.
specialties, you become intimately aware of the need to talk to people, to sort of have this bridge to talk to people about what's going on with their health, what's going on medically. And I think we really saw this come out, and in the importance of information and the
Sorry.
importance of us.
Speaking of AI, we got a chat bot, and once again, we always at least get one. But here's a bot
Uh-huh.
recommending AI viewers. Cannot be more ironic.
That is great. That's wonderful.
uh,
Always one, at least one bot, right, in all streams.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's just so that it could not be more ironic that of all things it recommended, instead of a Russian website, this time it recommended AI chat. That is one
oh my
way that
gosh.
AI has been
It's
introduced into our
problematic,
world.
yes,
Yeah, so anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail it.
No, 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 go ahead. But so we saw this in the post-COVID years where communication is important, learning how to talk to patients is important. We don't have a lot of time. We just talked about how much time
Mhm,
physicians spend just running around doing stuff. And I would say in our life, in practice, 60%, maybe 60% at most is actually seeing and doing medical stuff. The other 40% of the time is spent doing paperwork because we work for hospital administrations or private practices or clinics that require us to file insurance paperwork, insurance claims, all those wonderful things. And
mhm,
then that doesn't give us a lot of time to actually spend talking to our patients about their health. So we are very streamlined in those conversations. We try to answer questions, but we're not very good at necessarily allaying fears or any of those, big concerns that they might have, and they're afraid to ask or they don't know how to ask.
mhm,
Yeah, medical billing, exactly. It's one of those big things. But the thing that I started realizing was, what if I could I have no software programming background whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's WebMD, there's Mayo Clinic, there's all these things that are on the internet. What if I could develop? There are not that many, as far as I have looked at, not that
Mm-hmm.
many actual phone apps where common conditions, drugs, procedures, things that people encounter in their everyday experiences in the hospital or they're dealing every day in life are explained in layperson terms, things that are easy to understand. And so I started
Mm-hmm.
developing that, and I
Oh
am
wow.
almost on the verge of launching it. This is where the confluence of
Ooh.
everything comes together. So I used I'm kind of a micromanager, so I don't know anything about programming. So what I did was use Claude to help me code the software.
I've heard of Claude.
Uh,
Yes.
yes, and then
Good
and I
things.
actually things I can because I have signed an NDA about this, but I can briefly say is I did help with some of Claude's most recent model of Claude from the medical perspective. We trained Claude on medical models. I was a consultant for that project.
Wow.
Um, but the I used Claude for coding,
Okay.
and I also taught myself what it was using, at least the rudiments of it, so I could understand what it was doing because I don't trust AI completely to do everything. So, I used it to build a
It's trust
skeleton.
but verify is I think
Trust but
the
verify,
what
yes.
people phrase I've used before or different things. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so I did that, and then I got some friends on board who are software programmers to help me with that. So if fingers crossed, everything goes well. Probably by the end of this week, um, we'll be able to uh, we'll be able to
Oh my
launch that.
gosh.
And it's
Wow.
intended to be free for patients. It's intended to be free for anybody who wants to just use it and get information. And the only thing we'll ever be monetizing is like small aspects, like because we have to do. There's some legal considerations that we actually want to integrate this into people's medical records and sort of help them understand their medical records. So when that feature gets rolled out later down the road, maybe in months or so, we will just be charging a minimum subscription fee to help people do that. It's probably not going to be no more than $2 to $3 a month. But I want to keep this
Hmm.
very, very cheap, lightweight, and usable by patients all over the world, all over the United States, the world, if possible.
Hmm.
So that's what we're working on.
That's so sick. Oh my gosh. Uh Yeah, girlfriend's saying here, I would love to do that for mental health, but I'm a while from that. Yeah, um, I think she's right now done with her master's. Actually, just last year, just by the end of the year, like November of 25,
Hmm.
got her master's in
Oh,
behavioral
congrats!
analysis. So now gonna have to do
Honestly, if you
hours for
ever
that, 1,500 hours, and then from there, after that, she can do like the lab code research stuff on that end.
awesome.
Yeah, she
Honestly,
wants to do.
if you have any interest in like doing that stuff for mental health, I'm always happy to pitch in and share information or ideas if you need any help. I'm very much in that season where I like to do this sort of stuff, and we talked about this briefly last time. It's like communicating with people, and sort of educating them. Being a teacher runs in my blood in some ways, so I like to
Mhm.
do that. So, oh,
Yeah,
nice, you were pre-med for psych. Okay, that is
yeah,
that's a tough
yes.
field to be in.
So that's why she stopped.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
But yeah, so wow. Okay, so yeah, and I'm taking notes as we're talking as well. So then I can refer to stuff too. Okay, so that's so cool. That's so cool. So what was it? So okay, so you mentioned how AI. Let's talk about AI. Yeah, yeah. I think I've had a lot of time that I've thought about my relationship with AI and being an artist. That is a really important question. One of the things I guess like to say my take on the I can talk about this. I can talk about that I guess a little bit later about like the art side of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I have a pretty I've settled on a pretty happy take on that. Um, But I want to ask, so artists, I'll say one thing. Artists use AI, from talking to artists in general, artists use AI mostly for the research part, for sure. I think a lot of people that I know
Mhm.
in general, across the board in all kinds of industry, will use AI mostly as a research tool. And you mentioned how, yeah, it's you've refining the AI on the research side seems like that really resonated for me. I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of like what I know a lot of people usually do. It's optimizing. It's basically like Google, where you can get the research results quicker. You can get a more like it can kind of point you in the right direction to go, and then once it does, you can go from there and do your own research. Like the end of the journey of your research should be you, but the beginning of
Mhm.
the journey can be AI. It can get narrow down uh, what avenues to basically go into, what directions, because there's just so much on the internet that
Right.
AI can kind of optimize your ability to I almost feel like there's a healthy kind of element of AI in that sense, where basically, like, the more bigger the internet has become, the more just overwhelming it is to have so much information, so much things. I mean, you could be watching YouTube um 24/7, and the amount of things that are being uploaded is faster than time is going by like thousandfold. I think there's 1,000 videos per day or per hour even being uploaded on YouTube or something insane like that. So yeah, so being able to how do you manage that? It's impossible for a single person to be able to verify and research and fact check every single thing. So AI can, in a way, at least do some of that work for you, to at least give you a direction and, hope for the best. I mean, of course, you
Yeah.
research your own stuff at the end, but yeah. Um, yeah, so I found that researching is something that is common across the board. Of people usually will do that with AI. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on? I
Well,
guess, like, can
I
you
think
talk a little bit
so.
more about how
Yeah.
that ties in with medical? Like, how much do you guys use AI for research? How much
So
do you want
there's
to? Yeah.
yeah, there's so much I could say about it. So I'm going to sort of like be vague intentionally, so you can take the conversation the direction you want. But I will try to cover all of it. So
Yeah, a little bit.
it's yeah, it's one of those things where um, for years, we used to talk about supercomputers. And there
Yeah.
was this conversation of we needed high computing power to be able to scour the internet for millions of documentation, millions of documents, and like put everything together.
Hmm.
And AI is almost like the hack of that, where it's like, actually, you don't need a supercomputer. You just need an engine that's able to do that in the background, and everybody has access to this software that's able to do this. You
Hmm.
don't have to build your own supercomputer with high server speeds to scour the internet. Somebody else does that, and you just access that server.
Hmm.
Um, and so my journey with AI actually begins before medical school, and this would have been the very early days of what we would consider modern AI. This was 2016, and 10 years ago now. I had finished grad school, and I joined a small startup that had exactly 3 or 4 employees, in a basement laboratory in a dingy building at the Johns Hopkins University.
Hmm.
And it was this guy with big dreams and absolutely no ability to execute anything. But he had this he had
Hmm.
this vision of looking at cancer research, and so there was this idea, which theoretically, if you put yourself in 10 years ago, right? Put yourself in the shoes of a researcher 10 years ago. There are thousands upon thousands of cancer labs all over the world, tens of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of publications all over the world. Some of them written in other languages that we don't know.
Hmm.
And in your lifetime, if you're a cancer researcher, just like in your lifetime as a musician, you cannot potentially read all those articles. But there is
Hmm.
a possibility that the cure for any given type of cancer is actually already out there. It's just that it's all lost in the data that hasn't been put together. It's like you have the entire puzzle, all the pieces of the puzzle, they're just
Yeah.
scattered and you haven't been able to put it together yet.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say, like,
so,
AI, like, it like lets you know, does something exist. That's what it's really good
exactly.
at doing. Like, oh, I don't know what's out there, but I'm not gonna. I would rather spend a second typing in a prompt like, hey, does this exist? Hey, can you point the
Right.
flashlight in this cave over here and let me know what I might find? And then I'll go and
Exactly.
look if I really need to, but get an idea of what's out there, basically, because there's just so much out there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And
That's
that was the
wild that
idea
something
because
would
like
get
you
lost
can't.
that easily. That's crazy, actually.
Right. And so like you
Yeah.
think about it, right? You like, is that there's so many different things happening, and if you have we can't see, we're not as humans always very good at seeing the 10,000 foot view. We're very good at looking in details when we need to, especially in the science fields. And so when you need to put those things together, and the thing is, this is going on.
Oh,
Programmers,
yeah.
without going to the, sorry, we're going to say something.
Oh, it muted you for a couple of seconds. It
Oh, sorry, can you hear
goes,
me? Are we
yeah,
good?
fine. Yeah, 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 it's fine.
Okay.
Hmm.
This has been going on for a couple of, for a long time,
Hmm.
for many years. We back in, the early 2000s. I think the website still exists. I got to remember what it was called, but it's basically, they were looking at molecular structures in our
Hmm.
body of, certain biomolecules, and there were these ideas that we know that structure exists because we were able to sort of like pull the structure apart in the lab, but we didn't necessarily know its three-dimensional shape. And it was a game. They gamified figuring this out. They actually put the structure online with a bunch of rules of how proteins and biomolecules usually fold, and they asked people to just find the way that seemed to crush the thing the most in the most compact shape, because we know that's what happens, because they weren't able.
Hmm.
There were thousands upon thousands of permutations, and they didn't know how it's possible, and they were doing this for years. And the answer was out there. It's just that they needed a lot of people to put all this like various things into, try various different things all at the same time until it came out.
AI
You didn't have
learning,
to be a scientist to do it. Yeah,
procedural
exactly.
learning is like that's literally
Procedural
the
learning.
footwork of
It's
that.
literally procedural learning.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the
And
whole
so
telling it when you
now,
got the right answer and being like, nope, yes, no, and then eventually it learns. Yep, yep.
exactly. And
Hmm.
then that's what happened. And now the new the new form of that is AI now is taking that and sort of helping us run with it. So when I worked with that lab, it was that whole same concept. Like, can we develop a system that like scours the world for all these articles and then put it together and then
Hmm.
summarize it for us, and we could be like, hey, you know what? Actually, there might be an answer to this question. We just didn't know it existed because it's scattered to the four corners of the earth. So fast forward from 2016, the reason that came out was Microsoft, and I have to let me just make sure I get the correct name of this device, because, and anybody who's listening to this stream, who has a background or knows AI, at least from a cursory point of view, will probably recognize this. I think his name was Wilson. Let's see what it
We can
was.
look
Was
stuff
it
up
Wilson?
together too if you want.
So
We can
there
ask
was a
ChatGPT. I'm
Microsoft.
just kidding.
Yes, as deputy. Yeah, I
So
have
scour
to
the internet
remember.
and find out.
um, there was a medical AI system. I believe it was developed by Microsoft, and I have to. Um,
Sure.
IBM Watson. It was IBM Watson. That was it was. So
Okay.
IBM Watson was the very first, one of the very first, one of the very prominently established, publicized medical AI systems, which was theoretically supposed to work in the early 2010s. It was like a big thing.
Yeah,
They were
it
like, "This
says
is
right
going to be great.
here,
This is going to."
originally famous for winning the game show of Jeopardy in 2011.
Yes,
Evolved from a
correct,
trivia answering system into, oh, trivia. There you go. Scouring the internet trying to answer a trivia question. That's actually
exactly,
a fantastic start place, like playground for something like this.
exactly. And what they did is they were like,
Hmm.
well, we have this repository of data. What if we try to do this whole cancer thing, where we tackle this whole cancer thing, where we scoured the internet for answers, and we're able to like pull together diagnostics and treatment plans for cancer patients. It was a yeah, there you go. And
Yeah.
it was a moonshot. It was like
Hmm. Yeah.
a plan, but it was
Uh-huh.
very noble, and thought about it. They thought they had it down in the lab. They put it on a news show that was supposed to test its medical knowledge,
Okay.
and it failed miserably. It failed so badly that
Oh.
right after its public release, the entire division folded because it was such a humiliating loss for them.
Oof.
And but what they decided to do, which was pretty smart on their end, is they took the APIs of the different of they did use Watson, and they auctioned it off to startups, including which one of them happened to be the one that I was part of in grad school in 2016. And they partitioned the APIs into different packages, and they basically said, okay, we can't figure out why this didn't work because we thought we had our best researchers on. So instead, we're going to auction off packages of APIs to different startups all over the States to work on different aspects of it and to see if we can refine it more. And maybe we'll circle
Hmm.
back to this, thing later. And that's how medical AI got its start. And over the next 10 to 15 years until about 2023, 2022, 2023, finally we had enough advancement on how to collect and sift through data that one of the first, actually the most established AI, LLM based AI, language learning model based AI, was released in evidence.
Was released what?
And open. Hmm?
Again, was released
Sorry.
what? It cuts in and out a little sometimes, but
Oh,
what was
sorry,
what
sorry.
released what?
So in 2022, the first language learning model,
Yeah.
LLM based medical AI, was released. It was called Open Evidence. And
Mm.
open evidence is used entirely by physicians. It is used only by to have a NPI, a prescriber's information identifier, which means you have to have finished medical school and have been registered to access it because they realized what they could do is help physicians conduct their medical research about patients and about laboratory research and things like that. It got partnered with the New England Journal of Medicine, and so it has access to like very very high powered scientific articles. And
Okay.
now to answer your question earlier, like how do we use this in medical practice? I would say that is the most commonly used form of AI right now in medical practice. What it allows us to do is quickly search up things that we might not really know off the top of our head. So, the big secret,
Hmm.
I'm divulging industry secrets here, but the big industry secret for patients to know is we are very good at knowing things that are common and things that are common to our specialty. But we don't always know the answers to things that require advanced management if it's not something we deal with on the regular basis, because there's no way for us to memorize all of that. And
Yeah.
so in the old days, we had programs, software that we would actually like, search things up in that would give us answers. It's not AI, but it's like going to the library and opening research. It's doctor's Google. It's not Google. It's a scientifically vetted thing, but it would help us give us like quick information. For example, I don't exactly remember off the top of my head for someone who's 30 years old, male, who needs
Yeah.
a prescribing information like what
Well,
dose to
I
give,
think of
right?
it, it's almost like Control F. Like you're Control Fing, but
Yes,
instead of just a one page, you're Control F the internet and just all this like research papers all
exactly.
together in one thing. And then I think I was the one thing I was going to also say is like attention, like the you probably we as a patient, you probably wouldn't, if you thought about it like for a couple seconds, you wouldn't want a doctor spending all their time trying to memorize this entire insurmountable amount of information, you, because then that would take, because there's a limited amount of time, you'd want that time spent towards actually learning the skills better or something. Like if you
Yeah,
had to pick what you would learn, it's better that the information is instantly accessible at your fingertips and then you get it when you need it. And then yes, whatever's the most common thing, of course knowing that off the top of the head is nice, is convenient, but it's more
right.
important that when you're actually there physically doing some kind of work on a person, working on a patient or with something, that's the
Exactly.
skill that you're invested the most time in, right? I imagine. I mean, look at the
Exactly.
13 years. Like, come on,
Yeah.
you gotta be prioritizing, careful with choosing what you're learning here,
you
pretty carefully, I
you
imagine.
very quickly realize that you have a lot of brain space and at the same time a lot of limited space because you're no longer processing things. After a certain time, you're just like, I learned this probably 2 years ago and I don't remember anymore because it
Yeah.
gets out. And so, whether you like it or not, that's what happens, right?
We don't have as
You
much RAM as those like water cooled AI farms. Okay,
exactly.
maybe if we
Oh
can
yeah,
get one plugged
listen,
in our
man.
head one day by one of you, maybe then we can talk.
Let me plug that
Overclock,
in my head first. Yeah, it's
and then a permanent cooling shower head like
permanent
box.
cooling shower here.
We'll have those when you go to Halloween. When with the two nuts is inserted on the sides. The green
Yes, yes,
Frankenstein
yes,
monster.
yeah.
So imagine that, but now it's like you got this cooling
It's like
box
AI like chips.
overhead.
Yes,
So
like
it's like cooling your head as you're overclocking your brain.
hold on, I gotta go to a very complex surgery. Let me turn up the cooler.
Yeah, medical students,
um,
first 5 years, next 5 years, 20 in
yes,
2010 versus 2050. Yeah, medical students all with
just
their coolers on. Yeah, yeah. But
but
yeah,
yeah,
time
I
is
mean,
limited,
that's
so yeah, you have to. The research part is optimizing that is great. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so
Go
that's
back to
kind of
that.
where we
Yeah.
use it, and a lot of it is that to help us sort of streamline the data that goes through it. And yeah, I mean, you're right. The data gets outdated
Yep.
very quick
Hmm.
as well. And so as
Every
you
two
know,
years.
as
Yeah.
research happens, and yeah, and as data keeps expiring, the thing is, medicine is a continuing education field, right? You have to keep learning, and at some point, especially when you're in residency training, if you talk to any of my colleagues, you don't have as much time to invest in textbook and research paper learning when you're actually seeing patients for roughly 70 hours a week, right? We work legally, we're not allowed to work above 80 hours a week, which it's itself is ridiculous if you think about it. But still,
Hmm.
even if you're doing like 80 hours a week, especially a surgery residence,
Hmm.
um, it's incredibly difficult to find time to learn what's new unless someone's teaching it to you. So for years, it used to be, what happens is you have a problem where as the information load goes bigger and bigger and bigger,
Hmm.
you have to make a choice, right? In the old days, now you had to make a choice as to whether to keep practicing the things the way that you learned it, or to alter some of the things that you were learning to catch up with the new research, which you would make as a person. You would only make the change maybe once every 5 to 10 years, because you can't keep making those changes all the time. Like, it's just too ridiculous to do. And as that volume of information grows more and more, you just don't have the time to make those changes anymore. So now what happens with,
That's really funny. I'll
uh,
say one thing about like I'm right now now I think in 7 years now I'm in like re going back through how I was taught music and violin and
mhm,
changing how I'm doing it and things like that. I'm trying to optimize better and better. I'm just understanding more and more from my own like remembering some things and researching some things and trying to figure out different ages and trying to optimize how you learn playing the instrument. The violin doesn't change. I can only imagine just how
right,
insane it is trying to optimize. Like I'm spending here 7 years, like I feel like I've got it, but like I still find new little things that I just didn't even think of, like
right.
new angles of attack on things, and it optimizes things just a little bit more and it refines it a little bit more. Now imagine something that is evolving every 2 years. So imagine if the violin didn't stay the same, but the violin
It
was
just
in
changes
change. It was the
shape. Yeah.
changed shape, changed dimensions, changed how everything changed. Every 2 years, it's just a new instrument.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, yes, you get better. I think there is some level of like systematically there are like I guess like geometry of things. You can look at like the geometry. You can look at like all these different. You can look at the physique of like. I mean, humans don't really. I mean, we do evolve, but we don't change maybe
But
as
slower,
crazily,
much
but
slower.
much
Yeah.
slower than let's say every two
Yes.
years. I hope.
Exactly.
Who knows? I've heard that evolution is also accelerating potentially because of different things.
Yes. I'll let you know when I grow my sixth finger in a couple of years and see what happens.
Yeah. So it's like that's
But I mean,
just
that's the
yeah.
thing.
So keeping up with
No,
that
you're
is
right.
like yeah,
It's
just
very difficult.
yeah. Yeah.
And it's not that, I've had conversations with people who are just like, oh, but you're smart. You went to medical school. You should be smart. Or, it's like, you should know everything
God,
about
you don't even know the
expert.
definition of the word
And I'm
smart, sir. Whoever's
and
asking that.
I'm like,
Oh
you can
God.
learn a lot of things, but there are limits to what you could do. So the way that
Mm,
AI helps now for us, which is
mm.
this, I mean, sorry, this was a long answer to
No,
the
that's
question.
fine.
The
That's
way that
fine.
AI sort of helps for us is it does streamline that process where now I don't have to take it upon myself the entire time to to learn things, to search. Because if it's new, also it's hard because you don't necessarily know what to search for when you're learning this. And so, this kind of helps bring that information. I have a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, who actually launched a startup. He's a training in orthopedics, but he
Hmm.
um, is started a new thing specifically for orthopedic surgeons, where it's like an AI that looks at the most high yield orthopedic specific research every day or every week, compiles them into a very quick about it in your
It's
trends,
cutting in and out
so that
again
you know what's
too
happening.
much. Say it
Exactly.
again.
Oh, sorry.
It, yeah.
No, so he created the system that was basically scour each week for the most high yield orthopedics topics,
Hmm.
and so that you could be, as a surgeon, on top of that, condenses it to like a couple paragraphs, a couple lines,
Hmm.
and is able just to do that.
Okay.
um
Let's pause for half a second. My girlfriend's telling me that you're not cutting out for them, but you're cutting out for me. That's really bizarre because you guys should be hearing what I'm hearing. But okay. Okay, that's fine.
well,
Well,
well, I think
yeah.
it's clearly you're the problem, and that's I don't know what to do.
I'm always the problem. Play my headset.
And,
I've learned to accept our flaws are just
embrace your flaws.
evolution cannot happen unless there's
There
a
we go.
flaw to be solved, to be evolved away
Well,
from.
that just means that you're going to evolve faster than the most of us. Um,
Hey, the best way to become the smartest person in the world is to be the dumbest person, to find the room where you're the dumbest person in the room. You want to be the dumbest person in the room, not the smartest person in the room, so you can learn.
it's big brain energy right there.
Yeah, yeah, you got to optimize. Hey, and hey, you know what? With AI, we're getting to a point where we might not be as smart, as the AI. And hey, we want to be in a way that perspective is actually positive on like we want to be in a room
Yes.
with the AI because AI will teach us something we might have not found ourselves, which is exactly the whole
So,
back to that research
so
thing. That's
and
a
this goes
very
to
positive
actually
outlook and light to look at things from.
exactly, and this goes actually to what your our government was saying in the chat, which is, is AI helpful in predictive models? And this is it's a great question, because when it comes to medicine, right, uh, our entire I always tell people this: our entire diagnostic. If you come to me as a patient, I'm doing prediction, right? My prediction is based on a whole uh, great amalgamation of
AI's
heuristics.
prediction. It's
Right,
the
AI is
same. We are
prediction.
the same.
It's this, yeah,
Kind
and
of.
the concept is, so people say, oh, I don't want AI to make people lazy, and I agree with that. But there's a difference between laziness, when you use AI to answer questions that you should be able to know on your own,
Mhm.
and being more on top of things like using the internet to search for something, because that's when you're trying to figure out information and you don't know it. You should always learn things on your own when you can, but you need to use AI to help you develop and refine your heuristic models, because another
Mhm.
way of thinking of AI is augmented intelligence. It's the way I like to think of AI, not artificial but augmented. It augments my intelligence. If I am
Mhm.
already seeing you as a patient, you come to me with something, I am thinking of a crap ton of different stuff that you might be having. I ask you a series of questions. I narrow it down. I kind of have an idea of what I need to do for you, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
what I would like is, in the case, because I'm a flawed human being and I shouldn't have trust in myself, and no one should have trust in anybody,
Mhm.
as bleak as that
Yeah.
sounds, you need someone to oversee that, to double check. And so I can now say, let me put in the basic information I got from you into the AI system. I already have an idea of what I want. Did I miss anything? Right? And AI
Yeah.
can tell me, well, there's a possibility that you missed this, and that, because there are case studies where this has happened. It's not very common, but this has happened. And then AI becomes a study in probability. Predictive models is a study in probability, right? Just like we humans operate. It's all an idea of, what's the likelihood that what AI said about this case is more likely than what my knowledge and studies have said. and that's the whole concept of it. And so when I was
Statistics, which
yeah
a lot of people don't hate statistics, and it's like, well, congratulations, we've created the most, the most mastermind optimized possible thing to get statistic results. Statistic
yes,
optimization.
exactly.
My God. Some people must be infuriated by that, actually, out there.
There definitely, for sure. And I tell people at the end of the day, like, look, here's the thing: if you don't actually participate in the creation and refinement of AI,
Hmm.
software engineers and programmers and developers are going to find a way to make AI prevalent because that's their job. If you don't help with the learning of it and helping it refine it,
Yeah.
you're going to have an absolutely terrible tool.
Yeah, it's a
And I
tool and
agree.
it's a collaboration. I think that working on like the best I think angle of going forward with AI existing, the cat's out of the bag,
Yes,
whole thing, right? Is collaboration.
yes, it
how do you
is.
deal with a cat that won't behave? Collaboration.
Yeah,
We must find a
exactly.
common we must coexist in this world. There's room for both of us.
Exactly. There's room for both of us, and we can use it very well. I always say, I think AI, when it comes, and this is something that I've actually wanted to ask you about as well, because I want to hear
Sure.
your thoughts. AI in the creative sphere, and there are things that people,
Mhm.
people always create AI art, and they're just like, well, AI
Yeah.
art is basically amalgamations of pre-existing art that just they put
Yes.
together. They learn things from
Yeah. Let's
pre-existing
talk
art.
about that for a second. I want to jump back to the quality again, the audio.
I'm using the HyperX Quadcast.
It's like
It's
a
here. I'll show
USB
you.
mic.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
a
one
USB
from
mic.
before, right? It's still the same one. Yeah, from last
Yeah,
time.
it's the same one. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's back. Same mic. I don't know, but its recording is fine. The recording seems fine, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. All right. It's probably my headset. I mean, my headset.
You're
Oh,
getting
is it? It's because it's plugged in for charging. Maybe that's actually. You know what? That's it. That's for sure it. But its battery's low if I unplug it. Gosh darn it, you thing. Make up your mind. All right, it's fine. Let's move on. um, to yeah, I mean, Nico's right here. He's late on the wires. Nico, are you chewing anything?
Are you chewing anything?
Is the wire in the process of disintegration right now? It's like
Slowly just
slobbering over
cuts
a
off.
wire. Everything just like the lights go out or something. Speaking of, this light is actually notorious for going out. I'm surprised it hasn't yet. Let me make sure it's this light is on.
It,
Yeah, I see my
oh my
headset's
God,
beeping for me.
that really brightened.
Oh, is this way better? People are gonna be like, "What the hell happened between the cuts?" The lamp.
Tech problems.
It's fine. Is this too
AI
bright?
still
That is
hasn't
really
fixed our lamp.
whitewashed now.
That is really white right now in the back.
See, you have to unblur your background again, like last time, if you're
I
okay with
know.
that, of course. Because,
I
but
can,
then
I
so
can,
that we can both
I
have
can,
our messy backs.
I can unblur my background. I can wait. Where's my camera? Anyway, okay, here we go. Hold on. You will see
Ah, there we go.
change
Too
video
much movement.
background.
Nico's left.
Wait, no, not that.
Perfect.
That's not right. There we go. Okay. Ah, wait, no, it didn't unblur it. Hold on.
You have to save it, maybe. It's not just
Oh
view
yeah,
it. You have to
change
like.
background.
Ooh, there we
There we
go.
go.
Nice.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Yes,
we want to see the hanging
nice.
towel. That's really
Yeah, it's the
important.
hanging towel at the back.
I mean,
So what really?
look at my beautifully nice desk of stacked things. I have like a printer right there as well. That's just stacked, absolutely stacked. Oh
Wait,
my
I gotta
god.
show you since we're on here. I
Sure.
collected these since they're in the view of my camera.
Oh,
I got these sea sponges when I went down to Florida last year, and I
okay.
dried them out. I took them, I rinsed them, and I dried them out. And so yeah, I just
Oh.
have them on display now.
So what is? I mean, that makes me think of like a shower sponge. Like, what is this exactly?
Yes, it is. That's what it is.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a sea sponge. It's a raw, unprocessed sea sponge.
Okay, interesting. Uh-huh.
It's a sea sponge. So they wash up on the beaches. I was in Tampa area.
SpongeBob.
Uh, yeah.
Duh, of course. See, my girlfriend has been living with me. We're almost on 5 years now, so
Nice.
just knows exactly how to explain this to me because sometimes I'm just like, there's going to be 4 questions after the first question, and just how to solve it all in one go.
I like how it only clicked when she said SpongeBob, and then you're like, oh.
But I was gonna go off on like, oh, I had no idea that like sponges came from like the sea and all that, and I was like, oh,
I'm glad you did. I'm
I
glad you
didn't even
didn't
know.
say
I
that
actually didn't
because
even know that. I didn't
I,
even know that SpongeBob was actually what? So the sponge in the sea is like a real like that comes from the sea. It's not like just
yes,
a thrown away
yeah,
sponge
yeah.
someone just sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
So
Oh my
sponges
gosh.
sponges are not artificially, well, I mean, you can synthetically create sponges, but the
Right.
real bat sponges that you see, the ones that, the ones that are
The scratchy
like,
boys. Yeah,
yeah, the
the raw
scratchy boys,
ones.
yeah, that's these guys right here. So
This is
yeah,
nature.
this is nature, raw and unfiltered. And I actually have one of these that I keep and I actually use as a sponge. So because you just collect them. I collect a whole crap ton, rinse them out, and just use them as a sponge.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Since they were sitting on my shelf, I'll see here. I'll
Yeah.
be
Nice.
nerdy for a moment and show these off.
Oh yeah, we're all about the raw experience here. The
Yes.
super refined thing, I think it's old. And you know what, AI? That's a great segue into also AI. Wow, this is nature.
Wow, this is nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, right
So
now
let's talk about
that sounds like
yeah.
we have to go touch grass.
I mean, yeah, that's one way to get to it. So okay, so the AI. So your question about the arts side of AI. So let's
Yes.
talk about the AI from the arts POV now. So with arts, one of the things that when I go on like say or is it called artstation.com?
Yeah.
It was, right? Yeah, ArtStation, where you can see just the most absolutely beautiful just work, and you might even see people on there that work. I mean, there are people who have accounts on here who are people who work at like Riot Games, work at like, Blizzard Entertainment, like people who are working on just
Right.
projects that are just world known, huge video games, let's say, or arts for those kind of things, or anything. Um,
Right.
are like really really dedicated artists, and I look at this stuff and I'm like, I think immediately, oh my gosh, what an insanely like huge amount of work is behind this. What an incredible feeling it must be, because I've watched people also do like painting for like how you'll see somebody just redraw the same line over and over, then they zoom
Right.
out and you see this just giant piece of work they're working on, and then you think, oh my gosh, like all this work behind it, and you think like how much personality is in the work, and then
Hmm.
how much, of course, commitment and everything, but also just how fulfilling it would feel to like work through that. And I think the most relatable activity and comparison is to think of like a 1,000 piece puzzle. Let's say you have a
Right.
1,000 piece puzzle, and there's a picture, right? You're going to complete this picture,
Hmm.
and you have a reference, and then you make the puzzle. Now, if you just want the picture, you can get the picture real easy.
Yeah.
There's the picture. You just get it. You can even probably find it online and get it. But then
Right.
what's the point? Why bother with the puzzle?
Hmm.
Well, it's the process. It's the slow like progression and the process that's the point. You're not doing the puzzle to
Right.
get the picture. The point is the process of that picture slowly filling
Being
out. You
made.
try being made. Yes, the creation.
Yes.
That is like the juice, and the satisfaction you feel, the relationship you have with the work at the end is totally different if you made that puzzle versus like and the experiences and the emotional like kind of ride that you get. So when you think of it like AI, you are skipping that entire experience. You're going jumping to the
Hmm.
picture. You don't get that at all from the creation point of view. And then
Right.
anybody that is a creative person, when they look at a piece of work, they think, oh, I want to learn more about how this thing came to be. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I want to talk about it. I want to dive deeper into the creation process behind it. What were the decisions that were made? What were the things that were thrown out? You watch a behind the scenes thing for like a movie or something, and you go, oh my gosh, it's so cool how this what came to be, and like the behind the scenes of that. And the evolution of arts in general is about us finding more creative ways to make the
Yeah.
art and all this stuff. So it's like So then it's like when I look at a piece of work and I go, oh, it's AI, and I look at it and I go, okay, I might find something appealing. Even the best, even let's be the most generous, the best AI that looks amazing, and we go, oh my gosh, that's such a cool picture. I want to, and then I go and I go, oh, I want to learn more about it. I want to understand it more. I want to analyze it. I want to discuss it. I want to go deeper into it. Well, you're looking at a mask, and behind it is just the void. There is nothing
Right.
behind it. There is nothing to discuss. And not only that, not only does the person who probably typed in the prompt to get the picture has no idea what's behind how the picture came to be. Not only
Right.
does that person have nothing to offer to you when you go in and are like, I want to learn more, I want to understand more, I want to connect more, right? Not only do they have no idea how the picture came to be, you can't even if you knew what even if you could, you wouldn't have the answers anyway because their AI doesn't even know. The AI can't even tell you where it came up with these pictures.
Yes.
Like you can, it would take an insurmountable amount of
Yeah.
research to go through and be like, okay, what decisions did it make? Go through all this. It's just you're not going to get that conversation at all. You're not going to get any fulfillment.
Right.
And also, like I always say this is my quote all the time: is music is a language, and language is about communication. There is nothing being communicated when you look at a piece of
Yes.
AI art. There is no communication. That is not a person communicating something because they didn't. All they are communicating is the prompt they typed in, and then
Right.
that is not. You're not getting a refined. The whole point of AI, art in general, not AI, but the whole point of music or art and music especially is that it can communicate things that words can't communicate. What is AI offering in the form of communication that the arts don't? Or is it,
Right.
when you talk about it like that, it completely changes the relationship of like what is valuable, what is the point, what are the priorities, what are the fundamental important elements of why pursue art, why use it, why care
Right.
about it, why discuss it. We've spent all this time evolving our way of being able to communicate through art form, and
Right.
AI is just like the most step backwards in the world ever. It's a huge step backwards because it doesn't use any of that progress
No.
at all. It is just
Right.
randomly collecting things that already are completed works, has no processing of any of that information. And also the other element of this is that when a person is working on a piece of art, they are just like a cook. They can taste the food as they're cooking, let's say, right? They can check and be like, oh,
Yes.
it needs this, it might need that. And so you have a barometer for the evolution at every step. You can check in and
Right.
be like, how is this thing working? How do I like this thing?
Exactly.
Is it going in the right direction? So every step of the way, you can correct and pilot the direction that things are moving in. Whereas with
Exactly.
AI, you are getting the full sweep, and you don't get to step in the middle of it at all. And oftentimes, I found people
Exactly.
actually get frustrated that they're like, "Oh, I want a picture," and they type in a prompt, and then they go, "Oh, can you change this?" And then it will change that, but it'll actually redo the entire process from zero all the way to the 100
Yes.
finished thing,
Yes.
and not you don't get to actually correct or customize any of that
Alter small
process.
portions. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like that's the other problem there too. So that's basically the take that I've arrived at least today with my
I
relationship with
agree.
AI and what things I think people need to be thinking about. I think a consumer, the reason AI is so successful at giving people what they want is because if you just want the picture, if you don't care about the puzzle
Yes.
and the process, if you just want the picture, you can get the picture. The AI will give you the picture. There is a market that just
Yes.
wants the picture. They just want the something to satisfy the visual, and that's it. But if you look anywhere past that, if you're interested in investigation, if you're interested in the process, if you're interested in connecting with it, the communication level is just absolute surface level, and it will satisfy a certain market, but it will not satisfy anything past that. And I think people, if we need to talk about that, that needs to be in the foreground about what is the value of AI, what is the role, and what is its place.
And
Yeah.
that's where I think that it becomes the discussion of creation. I subscribe to the belief that everything we do in life, most things we do in life, is not about the end product. Most things we do in life actually teaches us a lot about how to get to the end product. And the
Yes.
the thing is, you learn stuff by painting, by playing music, by the act. I mean, like I just told you, when I was doing my programming, right? I wanted Claude to give me the code so I could see what happened. But then I'm
Mhm.
not satisfied with that because it doesn't teach me anything. What it does is it gives me
Yes.
it satisfies the immediate, like, okay, I can see what the end product will look like. Because for people like me, and I don't know if you're similar, but I know that for people like me, sometimes we have a vision in our head, but
Mhm.
it takes a lot of work to get there. And then halfway while trying to get there, it's exhausting because there's a lot of learning to do. It is sometimes motivating to see the end product manifest so we kind of see what it looks like, and then we work backwards and figure out how to get there. And so for me,
Sure. Yeah.
that's what it is. The AI
Yes.
gave me that, like, a whole idea, like, this is what your product will actually look like when it's implemented. Now you could see what you want to do with it. And I'm like, well, what I want to do now is actually learn how to do that. Now that I know what it can look like, it gives me
Hmm.
inspiration. I mean, I look at your you know, I look at your example, your Outer Wilds poster at the back, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it's got it's digital art, right? And
Hmm.
but digital this was digital art before the days of AI. This is digital art when digital artists actually created and used technology
Yeah.
to, like, make it work.
Yep.
And the thing is, I could have a vision of that, but if I don't have the skill or ability to do it. You're right. There's a market for AI just to create that for me right off the bat. But but if I learn to do that, now I can always use those skills and apply them to create whatever else I want down the road. It is not just a, a prompt and a result. You now have
Hmm.
all the different paths that I can use down the road to create whatever I want, because the skills you learn to get to that is what you can translate.
Well, it's about. I think it's even. But someone could argue that just what if. Well, I can get this. Well, if I can get this result immediately, I can just get the next result immediately as well. Like, what's the problem? This is. I can
Right.
just keep reading on this. But the problem is the customization process. Like, if you can create
Yes.
this, you can customize whatever you have in your mind that you've come up with. That is an idea that you want to express. You can
Exactly.
customize your you can customize every step of the way. So high fidelity is the process of
Right.
customization. And because the customization process is high fidelity, the message sent and received clarity and one-to-one ratio will be higher fidelity as well.
Exactly.
The communication part is clearer because of the skill of that customization. It's like if I type in a message or something, I type in an essay, and then the AI uses my essay as an inspiration, and then I sent my essay in as homework for to my school, and the school gets the AI's version rather than mine.
Yes.
That's the form. That's us trying to communicate using AI versus like if we just like literally type it and then we learn so that the code can be sent directly exactly how we typed it and that be
Exactly.
received. That is us actually manually doing ourselves.
And the thing is, like, for a society that really likes autonomy, right? We as a people, we love being able to determine our own path. We want to be captains of our own ship. And that's
Yeah,
something
we are
that I'll say that
sacrificing
we want.
autonomy with AI.
And
Absolutely.
exactly, I'm surprised
Control.
how willing we are to just give AI that autonomy, because with the
Convenience is
tools that you
very
have,
alluring. People do
it
like
is.
convenience, and it's a what that
And
is actually the debate here is like what how much are we willing to sacrifice autonomy for convenience? That's been actually a
convenience and
discussion about
instant.
security and like surveillance for years before
Exactly.
this.
And I
Yeah.
talk about it as it's convenience, and I think that the real bottom line is instant gratification. You want something and you can
Yeah, my
ask
girlfriend
the
knows
AI to give it
all
to you.
about that. It's the gratification, all about that in behavioral analysis. Oh boy.
It's all about that because
Reinforcement. It's all about
yeah,
reinforcement. That's the most common word I hear.
if if I can ask for something and I can get it right now and I don't have to
Yes,
do
super
anything for
reinforcing.
it, why would I learn it? And the
Yes,
thing is, like,
exactly.
all of that is great until, the thing is, unfortunately, and this is how maybe, some people say okay boomer whenever they hear me say this, but, like, the truth is, there comes a point in time when, systems fail. And
Hmm.
when systems fail, if you have been raised to um, ask AI, or in our generation, I'll dial it back. Our generation, we grew up with the internet and the computers. We relied on it a lot. But I
Yeah.
think you and I and others like us are able, if systems fail, we can make do without it. We can figure out a way. We know how to go to the library and look for stuff if we need to. We know how to rebuild. We have that information. If you
Yeah. There's no
completely
fallback plan.
sacrifice those, right. If you grow up and your entire learning curve and creation curve and everything is AI, right, then you're just never going to actually like, if the systems fail, which they will because all systems fail at some point, you can't create a flawless system. You're going to be left floundering. And I give you an example like this. Actually, this is a more
Well, at least you have to
obtuse example.
understand the system. I think AI is different because you can talk about how like infrastructure with technology, the electricity, cars, like
Yeah.
it's so many people working on that that it is just
Yes.
infinitely sustainable because it is just infinitely supported. But the problem with the AI is we are not controlling what the AI is doing. The control element
Well,
is missing, so then if it fails, we have no way of knowing how to correct the fix
I
it or
would I would
whatever, I guess. I
contest
don't
the
know.
fact that, yeah, and I know what you mean by saying it's fully supported, but I would also contest that because I would say because there are so many things that go into making it work, if one aspect does fail, then the entire thing crashes, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
let's take like for example the electric grid, right? The electric grid is fully intact, but look at this. In the news, if you just Google up on the news a few months
Ding!
ago,
And he goes
what?
off. Sorry, the electric grid goes.
Yeah,
Oh well, karma's a
and like
bitch.
think, I know,
I
right?
don't
Exactly. I
know.
mean, did we
Yeah,
not learn anything from Age of Ultron? In Iron Man, like it's just like
yeah,
Avengers: Age of Ultron. Like so,
yeah.
like here's the thing. There this couple months ago there was a system which was hacked. This one of the companies I worked for consulting was hacked,
Hmm.
and it was like a major data breach. And they're an AI company, and their models were hacked. Their algorithms were hacked. Their learning systems were hacked. It was on epic proportions, right?
Hmm.
And all this information became publicly available, and people began modifying it to change and get whatever they want. Um, and for a short period of time, the systems that relied on those APIs and stuff began to crash. They began to fall out. Anytime, I mean, look at Google Cloud, something crashes, it falls out, and then suddenly people can't access, you know, tons of websites, tons of resources.
Yeah.
Um, and it. I would say that the more that something relies, the more variables that a system relies on, the more likely that if one of those variables fails, because they're all necessary variables. There are no redundancies, is what I'm saying, right? AI requires, there's no redundancy backup because it consumes
Hmm.
too much energy as is. So if one of the pillars, one of the load-bearing walls crashes, you have a problem. And a case of this is back when I was in medical school, we actually had a day. Hospitals use electronic medical records. We use it all the time, and it's easy because we're able to put in orders, for prescriptions, send the patients out for imaging, all these things. It's all done online. um, but we had a system failure where nationwide the electronic medical record system was hacked, and over 1,000 hospitals, I can't remember the exact name, but I know at least 1,000 hospitals did not have access to their medical records for a full day across the United States.
Wow.
And they had to go back to paper charts. They had to go back to
Yeah.
the patient folders and paper charts. Now, you can argue this is a system that relies on internet, electricity. Like there are thousands of people working all over the place for it, but it was just one failure.
But the paper, we had
And
the paper, right? That was
we
the
and the
backup in a way.
and so the backup was the paper. But guess what? A lot of people didn't know how to like do that because we weren't trained that way. Our generation was trained with that, and it like there were unfortunately there were losses of life. Patients died because we couldn't get things done, not in my hospital but in other hospitals. At least a handful of them passed away
Hmm.
because they couldn't get to these things on time. They didn't know how to do that. And so the thing is, I that's a dramatic example and an older example, but one where, any skill you learn, it's great if you ask AI to facilitate the process, but you should still learn the process because
Hmm.
if it's something that you're trying to like do long term, chronically use, if you're not like my parents who like just want to generate an art piece to hang on their wall and they don't have, or people who like don't have the resources to purchase that kind of stuff and they're just doing it for their own purposes and it's for fun, that's fine. But if you're trying to do something that you're going to actually like learn from and commercialize and do your own stuff, you need to learn the skill. You can't just rely on AI for that.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, the redundancy part makes me think of also another thing I wrote here. Evolution, right? Evolving
Hmm.
field. So like the medical field and also arts also evolve as well. And so like AI is also part of that evolution. AI is an evolution. And I guess like another thing that was like my thought about AI was like, well, I was very skeptical to jump to the conclusion that AI is going to replace art in a way, because
Yeah.
I was like, well, we've had technological advances for thousands of years.
Right.
Why this one
Why
would
now?
why would this and they've never replaced art. They've only ever been tools that were incorporated by artists to further art and evolve it to meet the cultural climate of the day, and to fit into the culture that it exists in at the time, because it's always art is always culturally relevant. Cultural relevance is always a factor in how art is perceived. So how come this technological advancement, why would this technological advancement be any different? And so when it was unclear, it was much harder to discern why the AI wasn't replacing art or was replacing art and whatever. I really delved in deep because of that, because I was like, well, there has to be, why would it be any different? Yeah, was like
Right.
my reason for skepticism off the bat.
And I think that at the end of the day, like the important thing is to have conversations like these, right? You can't with any technological change, you can't be like, well, I don't believe in AI slop and I'm going to just never use it. And everyone who does should be like, just banned from the face of the earth. And you also can't be on the other side. It's like, AI is the future. It will take over all the jobs and we will no longer need, we can look at our robot overlords and it's going to be great. Like
Yep.
you gotta, you
Yep.
gotta, you gotta
Yep.
have that recognition that technology is shaped by the people who use it at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And by the people who develop it, and you have to play a role in it.
Yeah, and
And
that whole
you need
redundancy
to have,
thing. Yeah,
yes,
of
it's like you
like
have to have that.
you
Yeah,
cannot
exactly.
rely on it fully like that. You can't go the other extreme.
No,
Um,
yeah. And people say, oh, doctors, so for doctors, they're like, oh, you guys use AI now. So radiology is actually one of the fields in medicine which uses AI more and more. In fact, it's one of the only fields in medicine. It is the only field of medicine which has been almost entirely, AI has been entirely integrated into it. And so what
mhm.
it does is, with radiology, with X-ray, CT scans, and stuff like that, they've developed advanced systems that can actually read images and pick out things that the human eye cannot see. And the thing is, radiology. So radiologists, just as a quick background, those doctors don't really see the patients themselves. They sit behind a computer screen and they interpret the CTs, MRIs, X-rays, right, of a patient.
Mhm.
Um, and they will always say when they write the report of what they see, they will always tell
It's
the other
this
doctor, "Hey,
this
yes,
stuff.
exactly."
Yep. So reading
And
these
they will
charts, spotting things, not missing anything in these kind of charts.
exactly. And
Yep.
the thing is, because they don't always lay eyes on the patient, in fact, they usually don't lay eyes on the patient. What they will always tell when they give the report back to another clinician, they'll say correlate clinically is the term they use. And what that means is, here are my findings. Now use what I'm telling you to in conjunction with what you see to
Mhm.
decide whether or not this makes sense, right? Because I can tell you, there are a lot of patients who come in with what we call uh, the medical term is incidental lomas. Okay, so you have like lipomas, like dermatomas. Incidental loma is like you find something on an imaging scan, it's there. It's actually not giving the patient any symptoms. It's just there, right? People have these things. It's like having a mole on your skin. It doesn't mean the mole is not problematic. Just because you have it doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't
And
affect your
so
health, yeah,
it
negatively.
doesn't affect your health. And so they're always like correlated clinically. So radiology, they said, well, sometimes our eyes are only so good, so we can't always perceive things. So they developed AI systems to be able to read those images very well.
Mm.
And
And it would give it like real results and what we've done,
yes,
and then it would like have it be like, oh no, this is true, this is wrong, yes, no,
correct.
kind of like
Yes,
testing, and it would just learn off all this massive history that
exactly.
we have
Of
of that.
like
Right.
thousands upon thousands of
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Hmm.
images
Hmm.
and data that we had done.
Hmm.
And it
How good is
works, it
it?
helps.
It
So the
works.
thing is, currently the system is actually pretty decent. But
Uh-huh.
we always say this because of the whole correlate clinically thing. There are a lot of times I'll give you both sides of the picture. There was a case where a patient came in with stroke symptoms, and the radiologist did not notice any stroke signs on the scans, on the brain scans that they did. And so usually when that happens, we say, well, the patient has a neurological problem, but it's not attributable to a stroke, which means something else is going on. Which means
Hmm.
like it's not a stroke. It could be, some sort of gradual decline. It could be some sort of injury that they
Yeah.
didn't know they had. We use that. But in this hospital, which is not my hospital, this was a case study that was done. the radiologist ran the same image through a scan, the AI scanner, and the AI read it and said, "Oh, there's actually this really small, almost microscopic, you know, zero point 0.5 by 1 millimeter stroke in this area of the brain, which you may not be able to see, but we were able to look at it because it looks like the voxels and all those kinds of things, the raw data."
So,
And
so the
so,
print you see is not everything that the scan sees. Like those
correct. So
pictures I just
the print,
showed, that was, how much of that
yeah.
are you,
So
how much are you actually seeing on those pictures from
so
actually
the
what's being
scan, so
scanned?
so the print that,
Just
for example, in that Google imaging that you saw just now,
mhm.
right?
Yep.
So all those images are renders of information that, like, basically a scanner receives the raw information. So the information says, you know, uh, like, I'll use an MRI because I'm more familiar with that. But like, for example, it says on the XYZ axis on this particular voxel, the molecules in the scanner were oriented this way, and it sends that raw data to a computer, which then
Hmm.
puts it together and projects it onto a screen so you can see it with your two eyes in that image, right? So the AI was actually trained on the raw data, like the actual, like, not the image itself, not just
Yeah,
the image itself, but the
the
raw
3D
unfiltered data,
everything. Yeah, that is
the
scanning.
3D, yeah, the, like, the binary, one could put it that way, you know. And
Yeah.
so by doing that, it was able to identify the small little region of the brain where we couldn't really see with our naked eye what was going on, but the data
Wow.
based on the numbers or thresholds that was
You
sent
said
to that,
what, point zero five, whatever. What was
point
it?
zero 0.05, yeah, zero point 0.5 millimeters by zero point 0.5 millimeters, very, very small. And the thing is, radiologist eyes can usually pick that up, but because of the location in the brain, it was not able to be picked up. And the AI did, and reported it, and like pointed to where it would be on the actual image, and it was really hard to see, but it actually was what attributed that patient
Yeah, and you
symptoms
guys
were attributed
verified,
to it.
right?
It made sense.
Yeah.
It was verified, and
Hmm.
it was correct, and so, you know, the patient had it. So that's an example of which AI really
Yeah.
worked, and as you know, it
Yep.
identified the outlier. On the flip side, there were
And
cases,
one
more
thing,
than
one thing I'll
multiple
say, this
cases.
is a great example of like the AI is pointing. You're like, hey, show me what's might be out there,
Yes,
and then you go and search it yourself. Like it gives you the
yes,
pointer of like,
exactly.
hey, maybe go check that because it could be important, and then it checks it,
Yes,
and then you check it, and then you go, okay,
yes.
was that important? And that almost can
Trust
almost
but
improve
verify.
the AI as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then we
The other
say,
case, yeah,
uh,
like,
exactly. On the other hand, we had cases, in many cases, where the
hmm
AI points out a bunch of things, and we're like, that's actually not important. And that happens a lot. Where it's just like, yeah, look at this really tiny little thing over here. I noticed it programmatically. The AI report says this makes sense, and we're just like, well, actually, in reality, it doesn't have any influence on the patient at all.
hmm
And so radiology uses it the most, in there every day, and they use it mainly
gotcha.
to double check their work. And so, you know, but radiologists still have to read the images. They still do it themselves. I mean, there are radiologists. There's a radiologists that I've heard of, that I know my colleagues know. Some of the younger ones who like began relying entirely on AI or weren't really doing much of the reading themselves. And fortunately, in the hospital, when that happens and we find out that's what's going on, we kind of slap them and say, "Hey, you've got to learn how to read these yourselves. Like, AI is
Hmm.
there to help. It's not there for you to replace."
Yeah.
So,
That's the
you know,
interesting thing though with the like calculator, right? That I hear that in school, heard that in school all the time about the calculator. Hey, the calculator is
yeah,
there to help, but you shouldn't depend on the calculator to do the calculation. Um, I guess like for
right.
someone who
And
might think those are the same,
so
what would you
the
say?
thing is, well, I always say, you know, yeah, people, you can always use a calculator to help you, but the thing is, math, there's a fundamental
You need to know
difference
the
between,
nuance. They're
yes,
saying, yeah.
there's a fundamental difference between pure logic. So the flaw that AI developers and pro AI advocates have is they think that
Hmm.
everything is algorithmic,
It's
and
not.
it's not, right? Math is algorithmic because the rules and idioms of math don't change. The rules and idioms of, you know, the laws of the universe, physics of the universe, they don't change.
Anything
But
past literally mathematics and
correct,
binary is going to be
and
variables that change and
it's
evolve
going to
with
be variables that
time,
change.
and circumstances are affecting things heavily. Yeah,
And there are developers who say, well, you know, it's not that they don't, it's
correlation
not that they
problems. You don't have correlation
change,
problems
right?
in math that much. I don't think. I think
Right,
math is one of the
but not
least
in basic
correlated.
math, not in the ones that calculators
Yeah,
are used
yeah,
to.
yeah. Of
And
course,
here's the
yes,
thing,
yeah, yeah.
and here's the thing, right? Every dimension, every world that we live in, every sphere that we live in has basic rules that are idioms that don't change. And when you use a tool within the restrictions of those idioms, it works. But even abstract math, you're not going to use a calculator to do that
Yeah.
because it doesn't follow the rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
or
wonder why I'm not
physics.
solving the Schrodinger's cat problem with my calculator.
Yeah, exactly, right. This is not going to work. And like, it's
Yeah.
it's the same principle with I did my undergrad. When I was an undergrad, I did a thesis. One of my minor theses was on M theory, which is a iteration of string theory. And
Oh,
it's this whole
nice.
concept of yeah, it's like a whole thing of like multi universes and stuff like
Yes.
that. It's
Yes.
a different situation.
I love that.
And I
Science
was talking to
fiction discoveries that
yeah.
builds from that is incredible. Thank God for that
And
stuff.
I know, right? And the thing is, that's a realm of physics and laws of physics that don't conform to things you can program because the behavior changes. And so the thing is that those are things that AI can't do because AI cannot AI relies on algorithms. And the thing is, it says, okay, here's all
It's
the
trying to use
information
an
to make the
algorithm
decision.
to solve something that is not algorithmic, basically,
Correct.
right?
And at some point
Um,
you can't, it's 50-50 in a lot of these in all these
it's like
non-algorithmic
using
situations.
linear equation to try to explain a logarithmic graph. Like you
Exactly.
are, you can kind maybe, but it's just a different
It's
language in a
hard.
way a
It's
lot of
I mean,
times.
it's like your girlfriend in the chat saying it's like trying to explain cells to a caveman. They're like, what? It doesn't make sense, right? It's like
The
you can't do it. And you're
majority
right.
answer, yeah.
It's a majority answer. It's the majority
Mhm.
answer, and it's like the majority answer isn't always correct because nuances are different. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's the divulgence of
Yeah.
AI.
I was gonna
I
write
always tell
down. I
people.
actually think of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. One more thing. Yes.
No, I always just tell people like, don't be afraid of AI being used. Don't be afraid of AI. Be concerned about how AI is being used. Who is
Yes.
using it? That's what you're
How? For
concerned
what
about. Yeah,
reasons? Yeah. Oh
exactly.
yeah.
You can't, because AI is going to be used. The question is, how is the person using it? If they're using it well, they're using it as a tool. I
I
don't
love
think you
that.
have much to be,
I love that because our
afraid of.
relationship with AI is based on our relationship with AI. Like,
Yes.
what is your relationship with a piece of work that you had to work hard on to evolve over time, and you were making adjustments along the way, and it's completely you are in it. You literally birthed it, right? Like, think of like
Yes.
like George Lucas making like Star Wars or something. Like
Hmm.
it's like having a child. Like you are literally
Yes.
birthing and growing and nurturing this thing into something that
Exactly.
it's a creation. And so that is,
It's a creation.
that relationship you have with this once it's completed is completely different from someone who might type in a prompt of make Star Wars be um a bunch of cavemen fighting with
Exactly. Yeah.
lightsabers instead of the normal characters. Oh, that's cool.
Right.
So your relationship with that might be a giggle. And I actually was talking to someone another time when I was streaming about like AI. I feel like AI actually will long term in the arts will have the most success in the like caricature memes and comedy element.
Yes.
I think that the
Yes.
comedic
Yes.
response and that because it's supposed to hit the surface level, like maybe like reaction,
Yes.
and it does get you that reaction, and beyond that you don't really like, yeah, the depth of how to be a comedian and how to make great jokes and stuff
Right.
and timing and whatever, so there is nuance to that and there is an form for that. But I think the consumption at that surface level is much more thicker, and there's much more, I guess, like acceptance of that comedy is about not
Yes.
taking life seriously at the end
Yeah.
of the
Exactly.
day. And so not taking it out, it would be really ironic if we took AI's
Yes.
comedy very seriously. It would be the most ironic thing in the world
It would
to
be
do
so
that.
ironic.
So like that's, yeah, so that's another thought I had about the art part side with that. And I think I was just
Yes.
thinking about how, like you were saying, how like you have someone working with looking at the AI and verifying whether, oh, it's pointed at this, let's see if there's anything there. Oh, maybe there isn't, okay, whatever. Just like with like a film, you might have someone called the character consultant. So character consultant is
Yes.
a role of someone who understands maybe a character and is going in depth of like what is their background, what might they do, what would make sense for the character to do, what would not make sense. And so when the screen play or whatever is being written, the script and stuff, and things are being acted out, things are being changed, they might step in sometimes and be like, oh, keep in mind that actually this conflicts with what the character might be genuine to the character so
Right.
far and what we know about them. And so like that would be kind of almost how I feel like someone who might be like on the team of, let's look at what the AI is, how the AI is reacting to what we're doing. And oh, looks like the AI pointed to
Yes.
this. Is that relevant? Oh, let me step in if it is. It looks like the AI pointed this out. Hey, guys, let's check this. This might be right. So like that stepping in and stepping out when necessary. I think that's
Exactly.
almost like having a team or a role of that sort. Just like in a film, you might have a character consultant. That might be the role of some team that
I
looking at
agree.
what AI is doing as it's tracking what we're doing, almost a transcript of like life, almost like reality.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
and
I
just
agree.
looking at what's AI's take on what we're doing as well.
It's AI as consultant, not AI
Yes,
as, as
consultation.
boss, overseer. Yeah.
And doctors, you talked about how
Yes.
you come from the consultation. You're a advisory
Yes.
capacity. Yeah, you
Exactly.
serve in an
Yes.
advisory capacity. I remember that from. Yep.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and I think that's the best way to use it. That is the best way to use it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna turn on the light here because it's
Yeah,
getting a
yeah.
little
It seems
dark.
like it was the sun is getting.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
weird because I guess it's getting a little cloudy. But let's turn this on. Okay,
And
that's better.
I'm
Let's see
loving the active chat. And anybody else, I know my girlfriend's been typing because she's in medical field for sure, and it can ask some very relevant things. And kind of
Yes.
I'm sure that's been really helpful to keep conversation going. But anybody else that's watching, feel free to ask some questions. We'll definitely take something while I do have Joshua here. And
Who do we have on? Like your girlfriend. Okay,
well, I was
nice.
just scrolling through here, and we had
Yeah,
we had Hansi and Lizzie and some other people here too. No,
nice.
don't worry, you're not taking over the anything.
I have to get my coat. That's a little warm here.
Let's see.
No, you don't have to
Uh,
shush.
oh no,
Commentary
no,
is good.
no. Yeah, no, no, totally fine. Um, okay. Um, and it's funny because also like the collective of like humans, like there's the whole graph of like how the collective mean, if you get everybody
Yes.
to answer a question of like what is the best solution to something, the collective mean of that will actually be the right answer. It's kind of this magical kind of like wild thing that happens. And so
Right.
then there's also, think of like the AI is actually working towards in the same way. It's also looking at everything, and maybe it's giving us the mean. Is it giving us the mean, would you say? Like
I
how
think it
much is it
is.
doing that? Yeah.
I would say I mean AI tends to focus on the things that are like most prevalent when it gives its answers, which is the mean. The thing though is it was mentioned earlier. AI is good at giving outliers. But it's also good at giving means if you point it and ask for that. The
Hmm.
question is the model that you use, right? So when I ask questions within the medical sphere, I'm asking for answers that are most common because it's Occam's razor. The simplest answer is most often the correct one,
Yep.
right? But it's very good if you ask it to actually look and mine for data. It becomes more specific at looking at outliers.
Hmm.
And so AI, because AI has two facets. It has the research facet where it's able to like actually. Oh, my
Yeah,
camera
you're
went
fine. You're
there for a
fine. You're
second.
fine. It fixed. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
where
Research facet.
it has a research facet where it does all the digging, but then it has the LLM facet, right? The LLM facet is how it communicates because AI, we know, ChatGPT, Claude,
Yep.
all these things is like how it communicates to us, and so it receives instruction from us. If I tell Claude or any of these systems, hey, I have a patient or I have a person with the common cold, and I'm wondering if there's or I have a patient with these symptoms: shortness of breath, they have a fever, they're not feeling very well. It's been like 2 to 3 days. What do you think they have? they're probably gonna be like, it sounds like they probably have the common cold. They might also have like maybe the flu or something else, but it's probably an upper respiratory infection. If I say,
It's
you know,
cancer, just like with Google.
it's kids
Anything you
exactly.
research catastrophizes cancer.
But then the irony
Uh-huh.
is, if I say, well, this person has fever and they're having a cough and cold, they're also having like, they have this extensive history, and I kind of like ruled out the fact that this is what they don't usually experience as a cold. What do you think it is? Then AI says it's cancer, right? Because what
Uh-huh.
it does is it says it's now saying, well, you have now specified to me that it's not the mean. You've specified to me that you're looking for something
Mm.
that's not Occam's razor. And so when you ask it for that, then what it does is it actually it literally
Confirmation bias.
confirms the, yes, confirmation bias. It literally goes
Your
to the most
own
radical
bias that you've
outlier.
inserted into the prompt.
Exactly. Which is why you see all these
Mm.
memes about like, for older AIs, like how many R's are in strawberry, and it's like zero, and then you're like, no, actually there are six, and you're like, you're right, there are six. Because there are six. Like, there's a concept
Yeah.
of and you have to keep in mind, the problem is the reason we're at this stage in AI. It might change in a few years. The reason we're
Why
at this
is it
stage in
doing
AI
that?
is because
Yeah. Why is it
because
trusting
AI.
us to? Oh, because it's trying to learn from us, right? Because it's like,
Yes,
oh,
it's
oh,
because it's a
it's a
conversation
self-feeding
tool.
catastrophe. Is what it is.
Yes,
So if we get
the
something
problem.
wrong, then the AI will get it wrong, and
Yes,
then learn from it, and then we'll learn from it, and then
exactly.
it'll get lost.
It's currently limited to
Mm,
our learning, what we feed it, and also how it communicates. Because
mhm,
again, AI was developed, the way we are using AI right now is not as a computational system. It's developed as a communication system.
mhm.
So it was developed as like a, how do I mirror my communicant. That's why you ask, you can set the tone for how AIs communicate. Like, I want it to
Mhm,
be colloquial, I want it to be formal, I want it to be friendly, and it adapts that tone. It adapts your language, it mirrors your language. And
mhm.
so if it's a friendly tone and you say, hey, you misspelled this word or you miscounted, it'll be like, what would, as a human, the human would react probably like, oh yeah, I'm friendly, I acquiesce, you're probably right, it's the wrong information, la da da. It's like, and so it does that. And so that's the problem with AI, which is why when
Mhm.
we in the medical field use it, we're like, well, we want to eliminate the whole conversational aspect of it. We want to focus on the factual part of it, which
Yep.
is, tell me what actually is the mean. Also, based on information, I want you to tell me that I'm overthinking, because as a doctor we tend to do one of two things: we either overthink or we're so tired that we underthink. And so when we overthink, it's this like, it's very simple Occam's razor solution. The person is not so complicated, but we're like, but they could have all of these things happening, because it's like, you know
Yeah.
it's like,
Objective
and so
versus
you want it
subjective,
to
my
right.
favorite. Yes, it is. It is my favorite. Yeah, it's the
And so you have to
oh,
figure it out.
it's a gray. Yeah, it's definitely foggy on that. Because it's like it's trying to it's listening to you as the prompter. But
Yes,
humans are not reliable as not a fully reliable resource.
we're
But the
not
AI cannot
reliable
discern how
historians.
reliable and what is reliable and when and why. It cannot. It doesn't
Yes,
have a its own, I guess, like, yeah, thing, which makes it accepted by the so universally because it is not biased. The that would
correct.
create bias because then it would choose which information to trust, not trust. If it had choice on any of that, it would
Yes,
immediately,
exactly.
somebody could argue that the bias is unfair or working against some kind of goal. Like, immediately you have a problem, and I don't know how you even solve
AI's
that.
bias
I
is that
guess.
AI's bias is that it assumes that the information we're feeding it is true.
Yes.
That's what it does. So, like
So what if
that
we're
in
wrong? Then how do we
well,
use the
that's
AI to help
that's
ourselves? We can't. It
that's
cannot
the
bail us
problems.
out of
We
our own
can't.
problems.
No, it can't. That's why you can feed a model wrong information and it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's the problem with. So that goes back to the problem with prediction models, right? Predictive model assumes that all the information we've had in the basis in the background is accurate. But what if it's not?
Yeah.
And now we have an
Of course.
issue, because it can't predict. It's predicting based on flawed data.
We're painting
It's
ourselves
kind
into
of
a
like,
corner, and because we're just assuming that, oh, everything we've come up with or thought of or decided or wrote is true.
it's wrong.
And
It's
so
like,
the only way to get out of that would be to verify by hand. So you cannot ever trust the AI
yes.
to solve. If it can't solve that, then we can't. Can it cross-reference? How much is that cross-referencing part? I guess like that would be
Well, it
probably part of the
depends.
the whole.
It
Yeah.
depends, because like, again, information. Like case in point, let's go
What
to
is it?
and
Cognitive dissonances. How much can it identify cognitive dissonances, or is it just
well,
it's just not? It has no
it's
barometer
not
for
there
this.
yet. It has
Yeah.
no barometer for that in some ways. I mean, like, I always say, uh, yeah, it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know. And I want to hear your perspective from the arts as well about this.
Sure.
But from the
Yeah.
from the medical perspective, it's we call patients. And this is not meant to be derogatory, but it's true. Patients are poor historians. Poor
Hmm.
historians means that we know what we want to ask from them, and we have it's our job to make sure we ask them the right questions, because they're not going to tell that to you off the bat. But very often patients also don't tell us all the information.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I'll have
Unreliable
people.
narrators completely.
Yes,
They might not
exactly,
remember
poor
their own
stories,
medical
unreliable narratives.
records. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And
Or
we've
they
talked
just
about that
tell us,
before,
like,
actually, last time. Yeah, a
we
little bit.
have. And they will just tell us this stuff because they're just like, well, I don't feel comfortable mentioning it. They don't realize that it's like important. Like, sir,
Yes.
you have a cough for the last 30 years. Have you ever smoked? Absolutely not. I've never touched a cigarette in my life. It's never happened. It's not true. And then
And now I'm gonna go smoke about it because this was very stressful. But I'm going to blank it out because I'm not a smoker and I don't identify with that
I
action.
don't. Yes. And then you go like, and then I will
Just
say,
kidding.
well,
Yeah, yeah.
that's not true, because I'm able to look at it and say, well, this doesn't make sense. I see his
Well, that's
scans.
have you have to
I've
write
looked at
down
the
as
biopsy.
well. You have to write down
Right.
medical and stuff. If you lie, it's against your own interest anyway. So you would never
Exactly.
probably lie on the
And
page,
so
and they can check your
in
records that
my
type of thing.
yes, and in my experience, I'm able to say, well, this doesn't make sense. The barometer is not there. The information he's fed me is not corresponding to what I am seeing in front of my eyes. Like, I don't care that you told me you fell down on an unidentified object. I know you did not fall down on an unidentified object, and that object is in certain places, which comes into the ED all the time. Like, that's just you did not fall down on that object.
I just think about how you can gaslight AI. The funniest
Yeah,
way to gaslight AI is that you can actually edit the prior text if you
you
go into the
can.
whatever, and then
Yes.
and then you can gaslight its AI because when the AI is feeding you the answer, it's also reading all of the previous conversation every time.
Previous
It's not
conversations.
actually
Yeah.
reading your latest thing; it's reading the
No.
entire conversation over and over. So if you re-edit your AI, your stuff you said before, it breaks and gets lost because it's like, why did they answer like this? I don't know. So it's like, oh, poor
It's a
thing.
great way of doing it. I know, poor thing.
It's
But
trying so
it's
hard.
true. It's like always thank AI for its service after everyone.
Yes, make sure to always salute and yeah, thank you for your
Salute your
service,
AI
AI.
overlords. Yes. No, but it's the thing. Like, you're right. It doesn't have a barometer to, like, do that deal with the cognitive dissonance, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with dealing with objective data, is that if the data is wrong to begin with, and you're not specific about correcting it, it continues to be wrong in its output.
Yeah,
And
and where's
so,
the sliding
uh,
scale for how much we would want it to be like? I guess like I would say the best I could see the best way it would be like, hey, when you say something, it could be like, well, here's something that I've researched to basically it should verify what you're saying and be like, okay,
yes,
and then maybe it could tell you like, hey, just so you know, from my own research of everything I have access to right now, what you're saying doesn't make sense to me because of this, and this, and this. Is this new
yeah,
information? Are you sure? Like, have that conversation at least. Maybe that
that needs to be
verification
done.
discussion I think is actually really important because otherwise how is
It
the AI
is.
you because the AI maybe we don't want it to be biased, but it should at least ask us to tell us what level of like cred is on the information we're giving it right now, I guess.
Yes, well, because
Credibility of the
AI
info.
itself doesn't necessarily, well, it's not technically supposed to have a bias, but because it's listening to us, it inherits our bias. And
Right.
so the thing is,
And maybe it
so
should
the
be a
thing is,
little
like,
slower and not so like just jumping to the conclusion that
yeah.
whatever our bias is just what it's going to take as fact because
But a
we
lot
don't
of
do that on ourselves anyway. Like why should we have
no,
it to leave it to that standard?
but a lot of LLMs, a lot of learning models are trained to please their writers, to please their prompt givers. Like,
Yeah.
if I can, if I don't want to upset the prompt giver. It's not like explicitly written, but that's what it's trained to, because it's a communication model. It's a language model.
Well, it can't
The
learn if
best
people
models of
stop talking to it.
exactly right,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. Totally.
exactly.
Uh, You go,
And
come here.
but yeah, one of the works that one of the things I used
Up.
to do, so as a consultant
Mm-hmm.
for the last 2 years, was I did do it was feeding it data. And so what they would ask us to do basically is create use cases, like patient cases that we came up with based off not copy and paste real patient data, but like is like basically like if I told you a case, it's based on a real patient, but I don't give you any information about the patient besides the medical stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
sort of like train the AI to like think about diagnosis and treatment in that way,
Playground scenarios.
um,
Yeah, the like, example
for
scenarios for.
scenarios, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Gotcha.
teach it. And so that's kind of how they're refining the algorithmic thinking part of
Mm-hmm.
advanced AI right now. How that manifests in the next few years remains to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's important to be a role. It's important to play a role in that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
important to play
No,
a
it's
role in
okay.
that.
No, absolutely. We should be actively participating in the collaboration with AI's evolution.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, we're running. I do have to go at the hour. Just a heads up.
Okay.
But I just want to see what else we could. The development of the
Yeah.
app. I'm super curious maybe to hear a few more words on that. Um,
Sure.
so I was gonna let me see here. Um, and you were gonna ask me about AI something. Something you.
I was gonna. Well, I was asking you about like. I mean, we talked a little bit about like about your thought on AI and the arts and its objectivity. It was mentioned in the chat that art
Subjectivity
is
versus
subjective,
objectivity.
right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that question. At some point, I will probably. There's a video that it goes an hour and a half long intro before it's a
Oh wow.
analysis of Star Wars, the seventh film of Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
the Disney Star Wars film, and the not the George Lucas. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the video is I think 3.5 hour essay about the first about a part of that film. Like this is super in depth um, what is it, film essay, and the
Okay.
first hour and a half is an introduction talking about subjectivity versus objectivity in art,
Oh
and
wow.
it is an incredibly detailed and incredibly thoughtful and just wonderfully like high level like understanding of this, and it's something that actually
Okay.
has been a really big problem in the film essay world of people just being like, well, that's just my subjective opinion, at the end of every sentence whenever they don't want people to they want to like win everyone over on what they're saying, or it's like just
Right.
because you could be wrong, and they're like, well,
Right.
but that's just my subjective opinion. But what if you're wrong about the facts? Well,
Right.
and it's like, how do you have a conversation about art in an
Right.
objective way? How can you agree and just have a productive discussion if you don't talk about something objective? But then if you
Exactly.
perceive art as all subjective, then there is no discussion about art because everything is up to debate, and there's no productive way to how do you move forward? There is no moving forward.
Right.
And so that video covers that perfectly. Basically, it's just like you can there are objective elements that make art good and better and worse at doing what art does, is communicating ideas in a way that is compelling or whatever. The communication element for sure is, I think, very objective, and the emotional
Right.
impact it has is objective to some degree. How much does it how that much that message will resonate is definitely the I would say that's the subjective part. The objective part is what is the art AI, what is the art or
Yes.
music communicating? We've been talking about AI too much. It's stuck in my
Yeah.
brain now. But like, what is the art and music communicating? And then the subjective part is how do you feel being communicated to you? What is your
Right.
emotional, I guess, like relationship with the thing? So you could have a work of art express grief, and you
Right.
cannot argue about the objectiveness of whether this scene is expressing grief. That is
Right.
not a subjective discussion of whether it is communicating grief, but how you feel about the grief that is being expressed is the subjective
That's
discussion.
subjective.
How did it make you
Right. That makes
feel
sense.
seeing something in the art express grief is the subjective.
That makes sense.
Whether it was
Yes.
expressing the grief is objective. That is actually objective.
Yes.
You cannot,
Because
that
that
is
was
something you can
what it
get
was
to.
doing. Yeah.
Yes, whether it was grief or not, like That is actually an objective conversation, and not everyone has
Right.
perfect information about the objective things that are going into the piece of art. Not everyone's going to have perfect
Right.
information, so you can have purely objective conversations with people and still have a discussion where you don't
Right.
agree. You might have two people that are talking
Right.
only about the objective elements of art, and both
But
people
it's
might
how they
not
respond
agree
to it.
because of
It's
the
how they
information they
responded to
have
what was
access
objective.
to.
Yeah.
Well, it's the information
Yes.
they might have access to. You might have a
Right. Yeah.
purely objective discussion of the art form of something, about a film or whatever is going on in it, but you will still have a debate and you might still have disagreements because not everyone has all the information in the world that may be objectively describing the thing that you're looking at. You might not know the history. You might not know some other element. You might not consider something that is whatever. Um, yeah, sorry, musical ties, beefs and boobs. That's a reference to someone from Trash Taste podcast talking. I think it was. Um, oh, I forget who it was. If you can remind me, but they were saying how like, oh, music is just beeps and boops. There was someone who
Oh.
was like, oh, music is just beeps and boops. Yeah, Sea
Oh,
Dog.
that's
Sea Dog
funny.
was like that. So that which is
Oh, I see.
yeah, I would love to argue that. That would be a great talk. Okay, so that's to talk about the subjective versus objective. Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of
Okay.
an element there. Um,
You wanted to ask me about something?
So the developing app was one thought.
Yes.
Deferring. Okay, so one thing was I know one quick thing about like deferring paperwork. Like I know that the in the medical field, everyone you guys probably really don't like dealing with paperwork. Like it's not the part that
Yeah.
you really signed up for, right? So
No, not
and
at
I think
all.
at one point didn't like wasn't there like a kind of opportunity for like the because it was deferred to something else, so to people who aren't in the medical field are doing the paperwork maybe a lot of the time. No, was that not the case? And that became
Sorry,
like kind of
like what you mean? Like, was it being delegated to someone else at some
yes,
point?
and then yeah, like the
So,
paperwork part was delegated to people who are not there doing the actual medical field kind of stuff, so that may have caused like less agency and control for like the doctors over kind of
correct.
some elements, and that kind of
So,
hurt the medical field in some way.
well,
I don't know.
the problem was,
I'm grasping at straws at
um,
something I forgot about. But yeah.
no, you're right. So there are these things called MAs, medical assistants, and people who were actually like in charge of like doing the billing and the stuff for that.
Yeah.
And one of the problems with um, so they're still very
Sorry.
much used.
Mhm.
Those people are still very, very much used. But the thing is, it's difficult because when you have middlemen who don't necessarily know how things are being handled in the clinic, you still have to kind of like handhold them on like what they're billing and what they're doing and all the paperwork and stuff.
Mhm.
So actually, interestingly enough, there were some systems developed this since the last time we talked. There have been some systems developed that are trying to use AI actually to do this, where you can sort of like it can read the note that you most recently wrote in the record, because you have to write the note, and it can actually kind of like auto populate a lot of these billing forms for you,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that way you're able to have uh, um, uh, like a faster workflow. So you still review the final sheets before they go on, but you're not sitting there like manually typing everything out
Which saves
to make it
time
work.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So
Um.
that's what's been happening more recently.
Uh. So the Dr. AI resource, I was going to ask about that. So let's just finish on that, so you can kind of promote as
Sure.
well your what you're doing with that. I'm really looking forward to see that come to. I'm sure maybe some people here might even use it. Oh my gosh, chat's going off onto the whole music is beeps and boops.
Beeps and boops.
When it's beeps and boops, it's music, kism,
Yeah.
satanic ritual. Beeps and boops is music is a satanic ritual. Yeah, sure. Okay, so the Doctor AI resource is it research info? Oh, you okay?
Sorry.
You need some water. It's okay.
Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Doc, yeah. So the research, is it research info? How is the AI involved in that app? What is the goal of the app? Yeah.
The one that I'm developing. Is
Yes.
that what we're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me
Like,
actually
is
kind
it
of show you
just
what it
research
looks
and
like.
info? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have pulled it up. This is a prototype. It's not on yet, but you can.
Oh my
Oops. Let me.
gosh,
Yes.
we're getting like a first preview thing. Oh my gosh, that's so
Yes, you get a
cool.
first preview thing. So
Oh.
it's
Okay.
understanding your health conditions, labs, imaging, medications. The whole
Okay.
cool thing about this is so let's see. For example, I press like labs.
And this is
It's
okay
this
for
is
you to
just
share it
all.
for us. That's okay.
Yes, it's this for
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Cool.
Yes,
Cool. Yeah.
and so we write things about it. We try to explain about like
Hmm.
what your labs are, all those kinds of stuff. And what we do
Ooh,
is
and the
it's all
numbers that you're
distilled.
looking for, what are the healthy levels? That's so
Yes,
cool. That's really, I like
and
that.
and the whole point is to try to give you guys a clean language, like not jargon filled explanation of what's happening.
Hmm.
And every time, like at the very bottom, for people who are actually very interested, we have let me see, I'm pressing through the mirror. Let me just
Yeah.
turn it to myself so you can see. Yeah, so we have like references for people who actually want to dive deeper into the
Ooh, that's
information.
so
Oops,
good.
there
Oh,
we
I
go.
love that.
Right.
Yes, if you want to learn
And
more, kind of thing. Oh, love it.
yes, and like, and let me give you another example here. For example, this one which I was writing on, um, for
So it's like
example,
really well
uh,
organized things by doctors to help communicate, understanding the
yes,
concepts that they would have to otherwise explain in the office, which would take that really valuable time
exactly. So
away
like kidney
from.
stones, for example, and I put this in like very, very simple language, like pebble like clumps, like things that like language that's English and not like
Hmm.
fully jargonesque. So it
Yeah.
makes sense. And I got this idea because one of the things I do in here in my spare time is I like to go out and eat at restaurants, and I've made friends who work in the restaurant industry, and many of them will start asking me questions about health and stuff like that. And so I often see them outside of the hospital. I'll just take a look
Hmm.
at them for fun, and I
Yeah.
realize that many people don't really understand how things work, right? They like, you talk about high blood pressure, they're like, what does this mean? I don't know. Like, I'm like, well, your pressure is high. They're like, why? What? You can tell me that my blood pressure isn't high, and you can tell me that I need to like restrict my salt, but I don't know why, right? I
Yeah.
don't understand why. And so I can't
Yep.
teach you medical school, but I can take you through basic stuff, right? I can
Yeah.
teach you like, when you have a lot of water flowing through a pipe and there's so much water going very fast through a pipe, the pressure builds up. You know what that's like. When
Yes.
when the
Yes.
pipe gets narrower, that the pressure gets higher. You know what that's like, right? So for when you're talking about your lungs, it's like your lungs are a balloon. I can make things more relatable to you, and now I explain complicated stuff in a
Yeah. In a
very,
simple way.
very, as much as I can. Yes. And to answer the question, yes, the model is trained through qualified professionals. So everybody who is an MD, I have right now. I'm slowly trying to build a larger base of people to contribute. Currently, it's like me and three other people who are vetting a lot of articles, which is really hard because we're writing it ourselves. Well, I do all the writing and then I send it to
Hmm.
them to add and edit. And so I have a little bit more time
That's
on my
cool.
hand right now because of where I am in my training. So I have a little bit more time.
Where's the
But
AI?
yes,
Where does the AI come in this?
so well, the AI is a future.
Okay.
It's going to come down the road. The idea is we're building an AI system that is solely trained on everything in this app.
So
So
you're
you can
literally
ask
hand
a
picking every single thing right now, and then later
yes.
the app will only train restricted to that stuff that
Yes.
you've
So
written
when
up.
you ask it
Gotcha.
exactly, so that when it's information, because I don't want the AI to go onto the internet and be like,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
pulling
Yep.
information from some random blog.
Who
So this
knows
is
if
what
it's
this does.
verifiable?
Yes,
This is verifiable because it's literally hand verified before
it's
it
hand
is even.
verified. Yes.
Yes, it is restricted to
So
that
we're
playground. Yep. Cool.
exactly, and it's hard to build, but we've been able that will come down hopefully down later this year. But the initial non-AI version, which is just like all the articles which you can search, there's a search bar, you can search up keywords, you can search up whatever you want.
Hmm.
That's what I want. That's like
That's
version
great.
one, and then down the road it's going to integrate to
Because
like
it's
you
going to
can
be the
actually put in
exact
your
answers a
information.
doctor gives you. Like if you ask a doctor,
Exactly,
what does this mean? This literal app will tell you exactly what your doctor would say or should say if they're
yes.
doing the right thing by like being, yeah.
Exactly. That's the point. Because you may not know what
Yes.
questions to ask. You may not know, the doctor may not be able to answer
Yes.
that because we are very bad at
Yes.
talking to people too. We are
Uh-huh.
notoriously bad at communication. We talked about this in our
Yes.
last episode.
Communication. Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I was like, well, let's try to fix this. Let's try to
Uh-huh.
make it so that it is easier for you to understand. You can ask me questions. There's a section in every article. What questions should I be asking my doctor? So that you can also look at it. I answer most of those questions, but in case you want to ask and get some personalized information,
Hmm.
that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
Google's literally
artists.
like, yeah, you have a cold, you have cancer. Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Artist what?
cancer. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Called yeah, or you have cancer. Yes,
Yeah.
it's one or the other. Yeah, artists, because it's like God forbid that you didn't check for cancer over this one little thing. You're gonna fucking
Yes.
sue Google now.
Yeah.
um, how dare you didn't give me whatever medical advice. Yeah, that's the
Exactly.
whole disclaimer thing too with online stuff. Usually,
It
it's not
is, and
medical
the good thing
advice.
is like
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I have some of my colleagues are attorneys, they're lawyers. One of them is actually a doctor and a lawyer. She went to law school, practiced for 10 years. She's now a
Oh
physician
my
in California.
God.
Yeah, and so
The
you
two
know
most
she,
dense schooling
yeah,
professions in the world, probably.
yeah,
Aside from rocket science,
exactly.
maybe she'll be a rocket science in her scientist in her
Maybe
50s
I
or
don't know.
something later.
She's 40 plus and like extremely
Okay.
energetic. I don't know how she does it. She's a cardiologist now. But she's helping me with some of the legal aspects of this because
Mhm.
always you always need to be careful of that.
That's
My
awesome.
other thing is like I also want to develop one of the sections of this app, which I think is going to be helpful for
Mhm.
hopefully like people like you guys out here and like anybody else, is when do I really need to go to the urgent care or emergency room? And it kind
Yes.
of helps you with like figuring
If it's
out,
an emergency,
do I
please
need to
call
get
911. I don't know if it's an emergency. Most of the
exactly.
time is
And
the
so
answer to
most of the
that
time it's
when you
yes.
hear that on the
And
phone.
so exactly. And so my whole thing is like, look, you know yourself better than anybody. You do. And sometimes when something sometimes is new, you're scared about it because you don't really know. It's new. I'm not sure
Mhm.
if I'm like dying, or am I just something I can wait? And so
Yeah.
I try to like give
That's a
in
fun
this
one.
thing. There's a
Yeah.
whole yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so there's this section of like just general information. It's like what to do. And so for any time, like if you have a headache, do you normally get headaches? Questions we will ask you when you come into the hospital anyway. And what I
Mhm.
want you to do is like it's sort of like, instead of being like the whole, let me pick up the phone, call 911 and go straight, or let me get in my car and drive to the urgent care.
Yeah.
The whole point is like, take 10 seconds and think. Don't panic. Let me answer a few questions that helps me decide and realize this is actually not unusual. This is not something that I think
Mhm.
I'm like the most worried about, or actually this is very unusual and I don't know how I feel about it. Because at the end of every of these articles, I always say, if you are really scared about something, just come in. But for those of you who are not, most people are not like absolutely terrified. They're just kind of like, they don't know what to do and they're not really sure how to set up an appointment. And so, that's half
Mhm.
the people I see in the emergency room are just like,
Mhm. Mhm.
oh, I know, I just didn't know how to see my doctor. I just came here because I have a stomach ache. You're fine. You're okay. Like you can wait. It's okay. you know?
Yeah.
So that I'm hoping that also helps reduce some of the load in the emergency room and the waiting times, because we have a lot of people who
Yeah,
come
and
in
the
and don't.
whole like emergency room prioritizing like who's the most
The
urgently
triage.
needing. Yeah, the triage is that
Yes.
what that's called? Yeah, that
Yes,
would
the
be if that
triage.
was in
Yes.
the app explaining to people
Yes.
how this works and why you're waiting so long. Like that might also be
Yes.
like maybe a thought of like I know a lot of people get really frustrated or impatient in there and being like, why are other people who came in later than me are going now before me and I'm here for hours, you know.
I just did a public service PSA on that on my TikTok channel, which I do a lot of the same stuff.
Oh yeah,
On TikTok I
link it.
publish little like 30 seconds. Yes, I will. I will. I don't know how to
I'll
link it
post in the
in your
chat.
chat, but I'll send it to
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Uh,
Or message amazing.
and yeah, I'll message you and
DM me.
I'll have you link it. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, DM you. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. I think I hope that people who can see it, they are curious about questions or something like that, I kind of get that information. And one of the things I talked about was quite literally, um, why am I waiting in the waiting room for hours? Like, what's happening here? And
Yes.
like, I think the doctor, I'm like, trust me, we're not on a smoke break. uh
Yeah.
it's fine. Here, I'm
Yeah.
gonna put this on the general channel.
The whole irony of
um
smoke breaks.
Say what?
Doctors smoking is the most ironic thing on paper, but it is not when you
I
think
know.
about the 13 years that you've been in school. It's not at
Exactly.
all. It's not the
The great thing.
medical knowledge that's making us make poor decisions about smoking.
It's the
It's the
stress.
and discredit. It's the damn stress
It's the damn
and the
stress.
urgency of every single moment of every day having requiring full attention and
Exactly.
the
Um,
responsibility. Yeah. Um,
exactly.
and
I
we
just
got only a couple
DM'd you.
minutes here. Yeah, if you DM'd
Yeah,
it
go
to me,
ahead.
I will put it in the chat for people to check out your TikTok. Absolutely. That's super cool.
Yes.
Um, haven't gotten it
Here we
yet,
go.
but
There we go. There we go.
okay.
Just did.
Perfect. Um,
This juice MD.
cool. And how often do you post on there, I guess? Like
I try to post at least once a week.
Hmm. That's cool. Nice. I've thought about also getting on with that train and doing short like bits from my content here. Let's
Yes.
see, users. Okay, I found it. Nice. That's so cool. Okay,
Yeah,
I
if you
will I
guys are
will put it in the
interested, like
chat
obviously.
here if you guys want to check out. I'm sure this will be very informative stuff. And if you want to learn more about so you can be a more informed patient, so that you have a better time understanding
Yeah.
doctors. Yeah, head to there, learn more, and definitely check into more of our streams and talks. We'll definitely do more in the future. This was a huge pleasure to have you here, and I'm so glad we
Thank
have
you
some
for having me.
audience
It's
as
great to
well.
talk again.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you very much for inviting me back.
yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, I guess that was. Yeah, that's it. Really. Yeah. Great. What a pleasure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I miss our chats, and I mean it's okay. We'll find some more times as well. I know you're super busy, and yeah, I hope you come back. I hope we get more.
Yes, please. I'll be very happy to come back. I think we can always there's always a lot to talk about. So
Keep us
we
updated
can.
about the app too, and feel free to
I
in my
will. I will
Discord
be
as
very
well.
happy.
Link people
I
about
will
stuff that's
reach
happening.
as soon as we release it. I will let you guys know. And obviously, we also want feedback. Once it comes out, we want our users to tell us what they think, what they want to see more of. Please. If
Yeah.
you already have things you want, questions, features you actually want to know about right now, let us know, and we can maybe put that in before we even launch it. So, yep,
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, if that's a wrap,
awesome.
have a good one,
Yes.
and see you around.
See you around.
Take care.
Yes.
Bye,
Thank you.
Joshua.
Take care. Bye. Bye, Vina.
Neat. Okay. Great. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you so much for the active chat. That was great. Love to see it. And yeah, we'll definitely have Joshua back soon. Um, hopefully. I mean, he's very busy, of course. If you're in this field, very busy. I was gonna say, I guess, like one more thing. I think musicians also are really great at communicating, um, like really great communicators when it comes to the music part, but verbal communication is definitely also lacking, I think, on the in the arts and musicians in general. And that's the part that I hope to be a better example of, and maybe example for other artists as well in the future. Yeah, communication is a really, really important topic. It's been a common theme with our podcast so far. Yeah, I do have to run on this 12 o'clock. Um, and I'll see you guys later. And if you were watching the VOD, comment if you have some thoughts as well. And take care. Bye.